Okay, thank you very much. At this point, we have a presentation to give to Lena Lume, who's the director of the Youth Center, in recognition of being featured in the Mayor's Business Spotlight. The Business Spotlight program is a free business recognition program designed to create awareness about the variety of local businesses located in Los Alamitos. This Business Spotlight program is a great way for the city to say thank you, showcase great businesses in Los Al, and to provide another tool to help our businesses grow. This month's recognized business is the Youth Center. And at this time, Lena, if you could come up here. So for those of you who don't know, the mission of the Youth Center is to transform the children's lives, one family at a time, through collaborative social, educational, and recreational programs. Since the birth of the Youth Center in 1952, this charity has been honored to have the opportunity to establish valuable partnerships within the community. The Youth Center takes deep pride in the stellar network of collaborators. The Youth Center fully acknowledges their critical importance in this organizational levels of current and future success. And at this point, if you want to say a few words about the Youth Center.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for this honorable recognition and the spotlight of the Youth Center. I represent the voices of kids, and we have two outstanding kids in here, and if you don't mind, if I could bring them in here. Ellie Hatakayama, come on over here. She is the youngest board member on the Youth Center board, and she's Los Alamitos High School student. And Hayden, coming over here. She's elementary student, and she's representative of the Youth Center for the second generation. And if I could have the kids share about what the Youth Center is to them. Go, Allie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me and for giving the Youth Center this amazing honor. I'm an avid advocate for the voices of the youth, and under the guidance and mentorship of Mrs. Lume, I've led an amazing group of students towards a lot of leadership initiatives, and we just want to say that the Youth Center is really a sanctuary physically and mentally, and it's a wonderful community for all students to feel welcomed in, so thank you so much.
Hi, my mom went to the youth center and I go to the youth center too.
All right. He was very shy about it, but thank you so much for having us here, for putting the spotlight on our youth in Los Alamitos. We are really appreciative and thank everybody who is in some way a part of the Youth Center, either through their support or their volunteerism, or they send their kids to the Youth Center. So thank you so much.
At this time, we have Zach from Michelle Steele's office, who also wanted to give recognition to the Youth Center.
Hello, everyone. I'm actually representing Congresswoman Michelle Steele and Assemblyman Trita as of right now. So on behalf of them both, we just want to go ahead and thank the Youth Center and specifically Mrs. LeMay. I know that anytime that she needs anything or anything like that, she can go in and contact me, and I know that it's the same way, the other way around. So congratulations and thank you.
Okay, and as part of this program, we do a little video that you can view online, and it promotes the Youth Center in this case. So at this time, we have a little sneak peek. In the video, there's actually an interview, so there's more. So I want to thank Ms. Lume again, and on behalf of the City of Los Alamitos, I also have a certificate of recognition for you. Thank you very much.
Ron, it's Ron.
Hand it over.
Okay, next up, I'd like to invite Director Noda and the Public Works team up front here. So I'll wait for her. Okay, National Public Works Week is the week of May 19th through 2024. It is a celebration of the tens and thousands of men and women who provide and maintain the infrastructure and services collectively known as public works. This year marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are of vital importance to sustain and resilience of communities and the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of people of Los Alamitos. This week is in honor of the city's public works team, whose dedication maintains our city's infrastructure. And Ron, would you like to say a few words?
I won't take too long, but I just want to introduce, this is not an entire Public Works team, but I just want to introduce who we have here today. So it's our Public Works Superintendent, Lori Hemp. We got over there our Public Works Supervisor, Renee Carmody. And then we have our maintenance workers here, starting off with our senior maintenance, Miguel De La Torre. We have Jose Mendoza. And then we have, he just started like 2 weeks ago. Right? Yeah, Paul McKinnon, if I said it right. But we have a total of, I think currently right now, 9 guys on staff. And so we're a small but mighty crew. Thank you.
And also on behalf of Congresswoman Michelle Steele and Assemblyman Trita, we have Zach again, who is going to present.
Hello, everyone, again. Just want to go ahead and also present some recognitions on behalf of Congresswoman Michelle Steele and Assemblyman Trita, again, for all the work that the Public Works Department does. Many of the things that they do, I think, just goes so unnoticed. Many people don't know how much city staff does in general. So I just want to go ahead and personally thank each and every one of you for caring for our community, and I know that Congresswoman feels the same. So thank you so much.
Don't go anywhere yet. Thank you, Zach. And then finally, on the behalf of the City of Los Alamitos, we have a proclamation that I'd like to. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, right now we have a presentation by Mr. Carlos Oregon, board member of Working Wardrobes, regarding services available. Mr. Oregon?
Good afternoon and thank you. Hello, Mayor, council members, city staff, and community members. My name is Carlos Oregon. I don't have the presentation. Oh, you have the presentation? Oh, wow, you got it all. All right, my name is Carlos Oregon. I'm the CEO for ThinkBox Technology Group. I'm also a 16-year Air Force veteran, and I sit on the board for the Greater Irvine Chamber, UHSM, and what I'm here for today, Working Wardrobes. It is important for me to give back to my community and serve as a member of the Vice Chair of the Public Affairs Committee here for Working Wardrobes, which is why I'm here today. In Orange County, Working Wardrobes is a household name, and these pictures are typically what people know about our organization. It's literally in our name, Wardrobes. But there is so much more behind these exterior transformations that we help create. Before a client gets a beautiful success suit, we first update their insides, their operating system, because changes on the outside reflect changes which have happened on the inside. For those that we serve, we see this transformation happen before our eyes. We truly do strive to change all of Orange County one person at a time. We exist to help people overcome barriers to gainful employment. In fact, in 2023, we reached over 5,500 lives. That's Working Wardrobe history. We are finally out of the post-pandemic recovery zone and in the growth zone. We're really good at what we do. Our programs have won national awards. Locally, we've been recognized as the Best of OC nonprofit 2 years in a row, and as Employer of the Year 3 years in a row, and as Best Place to Work and Top Rated Workplace. Since our inception in 1990, we've transformed over 125,000 lives. In the beginning, we only served women, but since our inception, we have added services for men, working age youth, seniors, justice involved, and military veterans. We help people overcome barriers such as mental health challenges, justice involvement, housing and food insecurity, entering and re-entering the workforce over age 55, experiencing domestic violence, and transitioning from military service to the civilian workforce. And for all the clients we serve, the barrier of the high cost of living here where they work, it's over $100,000 to survive, not thrive, with a family of 4 in this area. Working Wardrobes is helping addressing all these issues because we care all about housing, food security, and all of these human issues that our community members and our community as a whole need to address. Without gainful employment, a person is choosing between which bills to pay, rent or utilities, groceries or medical bills, and those choices impact our entire community. With gainful employment, we have new choices. For under $10,000 per person, we create lifelong abilities and transformations because when we teach a person to fish, they become self-sustaining in their changes. So how do we do it at Working Wardrobes? Working Wardrobes provides career training, job placement assistant, and professional wardrobing services through our Rebuilding Careers program. Our priority populations include unemployed and underemployed individuals, veterans, working age youth, individuals who have been involved with the justice system, and seniors. Our goal is to assist under-resourced and marginalized individuals and populations in gaining the skills and confidence to find and maintain employment and build lasting economic stability for themselves and their families. Each job seeker gets an individualized employment plan that include addressing barriers, preparing for interviews, job searches, and obtaining skills training to include how to express their own personal brand. The cherry on top of this preparedness is a personalized one-on-one styling appointment where the client receives a success suit. We provide their needs for critical success. We also provide gas cards, food cards, temporary housing assistance, and work with over 185 other agencies to wrap up services for our clients. Our secret sauce is how we treat people. Said another way, this client shared how our services and approach were a healing balm to his innermost hurts. Have you been to Working Wardrobe since July 2023? If not, come check out our public tour the third Thursday of every month at 4 p.m. You can scan the QR code here and RSVP, bring a friend, someone else who you think should know more about Working Wardrobes, and let us make sure these services are not kept a secret. We offer this full wrap-around service model at no cost to over 5,000 people we reach annually. That's possible because of 3 retail stores that help fund this mission, and we engage in typical nonprofit fundraising through individuals and corporations, and we are a contracted provider to municipalities. That means you. can help ensure these services help this great city by funding them. Stay in touch with us, subscribe to our biweekly newsletter, or as I mentioned, please come take a tour. Council members, what's a question may I answer for you about Working Wardrobes?
How can we donate?
We can get you in touch with Bonnie Palmish, who's our CEO, and we can get you there.
Perfect.
If you'd like, I can contact you, or connect you with her,
Perfect, thank you.
by all means. Yes, ma'am. Anyone else?
I'll take a tour.
Okay, we'll set you up.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
thank you very much.
Are there volunteer opportunities?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that something you can find on the website as well?
Yes, ma'am, you can. We have an
Okay.
advisor that you can call and set it up, but I can, again, connect you directly with Bonnie, and she can set you up.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we have a presentation by Irving Montenegro Jr., Development Services Manager, regarding MiloSal app.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council, staff, and everyone present. As I was introduced, my name is Irving Montenegro Jr. I'm the Development Services Manager for Development Services Department, and I'm excited to present to you tonight the MiloSal app and its functionality, how it's used not only internally but externally throughout the city. So without further ado, here's the outline for the presentation tonight. I'm going to go into the background, a little bit of the history into the reason why we use the app, the services that are provided, such as the purpose for why we offer it, the operation, the capability, and then just information on how to navigate through the app. Again, zeroing in on the functionality, but the main premise of why we use it. So back in 2021, we wanted to incorporate or implement an app, a city service app, that would not only provide information, but provide resources throughout the city. Through this app, we're able to provide services such as service requests, in other words, like public works requests. Also, any violations that are recorded or reported in the city would be able to go through this app. It is a web-based software. It's powered by GoGov, which is a company that operates the software. It's cloud-based, meaning that you don't have to be attached directly on a computer. You could be on a mobile device, an iPad of some sort, and you'd be able to have functionality through the app in that way. The intention of the service is really to enhance the customer service aspect. A lot of the city services, although they are offered in-house, can be accessed, whether it's information, upcoming events, city council meetings, agendas, and then ultimately the correspondence to and from residents to the city. It is a direct nexus between the city and the residents. Again, it's not just intended that you have to pick up the phone, call the city, or visit over the counter. Although those services are viable and welcomed, we highly encourage folks to use the app for all the capability of modern technology and communication. So the purpose, again, just to really stress that it's an internal and an external tool that we use for service requests. So perfect example is if you notice a pothole outside while you're driving, you don't have to wait necessarily to visit or call City Hall to report it. You can do it directly, of course, being safely, not while you're driving, but ultimately when you have an opportunity to report any issues. It is a real-time processing app. In other words, as soon as that service request is submitted, or if there's a report of a violation that you observe, it is handled directly either through the respective department or division, and then ultimately then processed for assessment, and also making sure that it's troubleshooted or handled properly. It is intended to be user-friendly. The app itself is easily downloadable, which I'll go ahead and cover in a little bit. But the way I like to phrase it is that it's a direct shortcut from the city website to your fingertips. So under its operation, we have what we call service requests, which is work orders. Oftentimes they're referred to as work orders, a service ticket, that kind of capability. It goes directly to Public Works, which is an extension of our department, which you met some of the guys tonight, and then the personnel groups that really are the ones that are handling the issues that are being reported. It is instant and efficient in the sense that as soon as it's being reported, it is received by the Public Works supervisor and then assigned directly to a Public Works staff. If it is something that requires a little bit more detail and assessment, there is a 72-hour period of which that would occur. Anything that is considered safety, anything that's considered priority will of course be done much quicker and smoother, but the intention is to be able to, again, put the capability of residents eyes, ears, and voice through the app. Some of the locations for definitions purposes of requests are the public right-of-way, and that could include streets, medians, sidewalks, things that are highly accessible. Really hitting on the safety aspect. If it's something that's like an uplifted sidewalk, a lot of folks have their own interpretation of what an uplifted sidewalk is. There's a specific measurement. So in other words, Public Works does have to do their due diligence. Either an inspector will go out or one of the personnel will determine whether or not it's an immediate hazard or if it could be done down the road, either through upcoming projects, consolidation of efforts. We do utilize third-party resources, so sometimes it's just a matter of strategically scheduling those out that way. But if it is something that is deemed a high hazard or high concern, such as like a fallen tree branch that's prohibiting right-of-way accessibility, whether it's ADA or driving or even just someone walking down, that's going to be handled appropriately. Parks or other locations, obvious amenities of parks are like playgrounds. For example, if you notice that there might be graffiti at a playground, that is not good. That is not good for aesthetics, but also not good for the kids that are using it. So that'll be handled appropriately as well, such as restrooms as well. If there's something that's either needs repair, the lighting inside the restrooms aren't properly lit, things like that. That's where it's super helpful to have the folks throughout the community report those issues, as opposed to having to wait for Public Works or city personnel to identify those. Other city facilities, or like community centers and city hall, are handled through this process as well. As far as code enforcement, these are violations throughout the community that are restricting quality of life, health and safety. It's a little unique to what you might consider a Public Works item in the sense that it is all aligned under a municipal code. So if there's any issues with regard to a property site, if there's overgrown vegetation, or if you notice that as you're driving down the city, there's a lot of debris and trash, that would be technically considered a CRM for our code enforcement team, which I would like to add that in addition to our Public Works personnel, our code enforcement team is highly present, and they do cover 7 days throughout the city. So there are eyes and ears throughout the weeks ahead, and we aim to really strive for quick, responsive service. Some examples as pictured here, you see property maintenance issues such as overgrown lawn, and that could be on both residential and commercial. Health and safety concerns such as illegal dumping, which is highly common in many cities, and we try to jump at that right away. They're very good about making sure that if it's something that needs to be done, whether it's at the back of a truck and we're not waiting until the next business day, our code enforcement team is super active and responsive in that sense. Ultimately, quality of life. We want to make sure that we preserve that quality of life. That Los Alamitos is a pretty city. It's clean, aesthetically pleasing, and so these are all things that our team, our code enforcement team, Public Works, takes very seriously, and they take a lot of pride in that. Ultimately, how to access the app. As many apps these days are commonly accessible through the Android or the Apple Store operation. There's an image there of what it looks like, and that's the actual app itself. It has the pretty backdrop of the city and the Los Alamitos branding right there. So ultimately, if you don't have the opportunity or haven't had the opportunity to download it, I would encourage you to do that. It just requires an email login. It's free to download, and it's simple to use. I will be walking you through the process for an example of a service request that can be done. But ultimately, I want to really stress that it's not just service requests. It's also agendas, minutes, it's events coming up, whether it's recreation that's throwing on an event coming up soon, if it's something that's within our shop and development services. We really utilize the app as an extension, a bridge, as I called it earlier, to the city website. So it's just much more accessible that way. But the information is intended to be at the residents' fingertips or anybody really that needs to use it. So how to report a service request. The first icon there shows the start request, but right below, if you notice, there's other buttons and other items that are actionable that you can navigate through. But to start a request, you would simply select that area. You would then pre-fill the fields that are there. And the reason why this is important, and this is on the external side, but a lot of folks may not know what they're reporting, so this makes it easier to drill down and select whether it's a graffiti-related issue, an animal control issue, if this is a pothole issue. It's designed to make it user-friendly, and I know we use that term loosely oftentimes with technology, but you can literally do this today and feel confident that you're doing it the right way. And so ultimately, these little filters here are designed to help you walk you through the process of submitting, in this case, a service request to Public Works. We highly encourage, with the capability of smartphones these days, to snap a photo. And the reason for that is that it can provide you a little bit more contextual evidence of what it is that you're reporting. So if it's a graffiti, oftentimes people think, okay, well, graffiti is abrasive. There's certain aspects of it, yeah, that it has to be handled right away. But if it's a kid that just used chalk art to draw out graffiti, I mean, it may not be something that requires goof off and immediate attention. It could be a water hose by a rec leader that goes out and says, hey, let's get rid of this chalk art. But on a more serious level, it could be done to capture the actual issue on hand. The next is an actual map, just like maps, like Google Maps or any maps these days. It's the capability is for you to be able to track exactly your location while you're using the app. Of course, you have to provide the permission through the settings, but that's a little bit more into detail. But if you provide the accessibility to identify where you are in the city, it'll drill down to that location without you having to actually select the intersection, the address, or the location. And ultimately, that will also provide, again, greater detail as to what you're reporting. The next step is just the final steps of reporting. I really want to stress that while we respect people's privacy and reason for privacy, if you select the anonymous icon, unfortunately, you do not get the response to and from the city staff. And the reason for that is because you're not providing any method of communication back. On the user end, you can always follow up on the request, you can always call, you can always check into it, but the beautiful thing about the ability to have someone that you can report back to is that you're getting those instant reports back from Public Works, or in a CRM's request, it would be our code enforcement division. So it would not only identify that it's been captured, it's been submitted, but then there's also a response of, okay, we're on it, or we're providing a timeline. Many times you'll have, for example, I'll use an easy example of a park, a playground that has a bucket swing that needs to be replaced. It might be a simple bucket swing on the surface, but it has special parts that have to be ordered. That takes time. So that allows Public Works to be able to report back to that individual and say, we received your service request need, we have it, we have to order the parts, and it's just that nice dialogue that will occur between the user and the reporting party. All in all, just to say that there is constant dialogue that is encouraged through the process. Ultimately, even when the job is done, you get that alert too as a user. So just want to thank you, but again, encourage folks to download the app if you've not already done so. Again, it's a matter of staying in touch, receiving information that's directly accessible to you in your phone, and then just as a reiteration that the city is here to serve, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Beautiful presentation. I personally very much enjoy the app. I have 3 questions. The first is, I noticed it has a 17+ rating. Why?
Well, perhaps because it's requiring information to download with the user capability. So I'm not going to say that that's the exact reason, but I can inquire. But a child or a youth or someone that's adolescent may not be able to submit those credentials, like a login credential, or be able to communicate back and forth. But I can look into that, though.
Okay, my second question is, do the popular topics change based on cookies?
Ooh. Potentially, but again, for my example, if I utilize the app, nowadays everything tracks you, your usage. It takes a lot of effort to clear your cookies and your background information. It does track, it recollects what you've submitted.
No, I mean
in the
on
app.
y'all's end, like on the city's end, if you notice that, okay, you've got this set amount of popular topics, but people are consistently looking for reporting a raised curb, will the back end pick up on that and then add it in? I know y'all are tracking me, but on your side, will it change the popular topics?
No, so what we do internally is we do reporting, and it could be monthly, quarterly, annually, right? Internally, we can populate the fields to provide us a snapshot of what is the most common violation or the most common issue. We just recently received a training from GoGov that provided us the capability to also pre-select those to provide those details that you're saying, such as, okay, this is now the 5th sidewalk in this neighborhood that's potentially creating this issue, whether it's tree roots or just water or just infrastructure. But those are things that can be pre-selected to a certain extent, but it is Public Works and Code that does the active research on an ongoing basis.
Okay, and my last question is, where is the non-emergency PD number?
So I'd have to look at that, but it is encouraged that whenever we get like an emergency response issue, one, it's forwarded. So I'll use a story that recently came up is our code enforcement division identified that there was a request that was not anything that they can report to. So they internally have the capability of contacting PD to provide that support if it's not within their realm and if it's not an emergency situation. There is a feature in there that will say that if it's an emergency situation, please dial 911. To answer your specific question, we can look into that because I'll be honest, I'm not sure if there's a direct dispatch number that's associated within the actual app, but it'll lead you to the website. And on the website, it'll provide contact information such as City Hall, dispatch number for PD, other buildings as well.
I would like for that to be looked into simply because I know that when our businesses run into homeless issues, they are encouraged to call the non-emergency PD number. And it would be nice if they already have the app that it's just right there and they can either reach out and immediately contact someone or whatever the course of action is that they should be taking is right there in the app as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'll look into that.
Just a couple questions. One is, if a neighbor was to turn in another neighbor because they've got 3 cars parked on their lawn, is the offending neighbor going to, or is the requesting neighbor going to get ratted out? Or is that staying anonymous on that side? Just, you want to keep the peace in the neighborhood. But, so I'm just wondering how that works.
So the anonymous feature allows you to submit something anonymously. And believe it or not, there are plenty of examples of situations where people don't want to be contacted back. They just want to report the issue, hence the anonymous option. None of the, that's more of a code violation. So none of the code violations are reported to the person that's the offender, right? So if it's overgrown vegetation, they're throwing parties because it's a short-term rental, things like that. It does not get back to them as to who reported that. It is simply a response by our code enforcement division in this example that will go out and blanket statement, we received this notice of a violation. We want to make sure that we provide education first, and then if it's a repeated issue, then there's consequences to that. But in no way is there a message that says, oh, your neighbor reported this issue.
Okay.
We respect the privacy.
Just asking.
Yeah.
And also, in regards to prioritizing request, how would requests coming through the app be prioritized over verbal or phone calls or emails for requests?
Through the app? So it lands in the inbox of our public works supervisor. So it's an automated message that pops up as a ticket that says service request has been submitted, and it provides the detail, right? It is interpretive to the public works team that will determine based on their assessment if it's a priority issue. Of course, if there's photos, if there's additional detail that will display the issue that's large, then they act immediately. I would like to also stress that we are going to have 6-day, 7-day coverage for public works. So there's going to be even quicker response rates. So essentially you don't have to wait if it's on a Thursday night till Monday to make an assessment. Theoretically, you may have someone the next day that will be able to do that. But the actual message itself is being reviewed by the Public Works Division, and they determine the priority level of that. The filters themselves do have a measure of like urgency, and so if it's something that is whether it's internally or externally reported, and if there's if it's like an urgent matter, then that triggers a quicker response as well. So it's not just the assessment or the interpretation, it's how it's being submitted.
I think I didn't ask the question properly. If you're getting phone calls about service request and emails about service request and letters about service request and the app, what gets the attention first?
So you're talking about the method of what's being reported, whether it's a call, a visit,
exactly.
or app.
Where does
Got
this
it.
app fall in the priority of responding?
Well, again, the great thing about the app is that it's instant, right? So the moment you submit the request, it lands in the Public Works Supervisor's inbox. So almost immediately, he is looking at these and saying, okay, this has to be handled. We have had a pretty good response rate from the public on not just the app, but the response, the actual response. And so while the message is intended to give you like a 72-hour window of like it's been done, they often get a response on things that are manageable quicker. So meaning that it's quick. And so whether it's a phone call, a message, email, or a service request via the app, it's all taken just as seriously in terms of response rate.
Okay, but it's our job technically necessarily now to, moving forward, encourage residents to use the app because that's the unified messaging that goes out to the
Hold on, council member, I think I can clarify your question a little bit. So what Development Services Manager Montenegro is saying is utilizing the app is the quickest, efficient way. If we do accept emails, we do accept phone calls, but you're just doing what I call on human time. So I'm gonna give an example. If you email me, I average about 150 emails a day. It might take me a couple days to get to those emails, so you're already losing 2 days, right? And whether it's a phone call or an email or a letter, we still get letters in the mail, we transfer that into the GoGov system. So I then hand it over to a department secretary to handle that. And again, they go through a lot of emails, so you're looking at a day or two of lag time. So by utilizing the app, it's much more efficient. It goes right to the Public Works Division. Whether you come to me, then it goes to a department secretary. It might be anywhere between 2 to 4 days before we actually log that into the GoGov system.
Perfect, thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for.
If I also may just kind of cap that statement too, we have people that prefer to come in person. So the app isn't intended to take place of the person's preference, right? To call it in or visit City Hall. It's just another additional, method of communication. So I wanted to mention that because we do have active members in the community that love to call. And that's great. And so what we do is we enter on their behalf. And so it gets entered directly, and that's great for tracking and auditing and performance measures.
Right, but if you see a giant pothole on a Saturday morning, the app is the most efficient way to get
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
Okay, perfect,
Yes.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the presentation. I know that this year we've been doing some more outreach regarding the app, and in response to the outreach, we're having more questions and more, community engagement. So appreciate the presentation to give more information. So yeah, looking forward to using it more.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to add that one thing great about this app is it holds us accountable, right? So we're all busy, as I said it earlier, that our Public Works Division is small but mighty, but it reminds us if we miss something. And also, when we complete a job, it sends a survey out to the person that reports it. Again, if it's done anonymously, we can't reach out to you, but if you put in email, you do get a survey out there to kind of rate on our performance on the job, on our response time, and all that stuff. So we track our surveys, and so I like to state that 90% of our surveys say that we do a good job. Okay?
Great.
All right, thank you very much. Right now, we're going to move on to oral communications. At this time, any individual in the audience may come forward to speak on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Remarks are to be limited to not more than 5 minutes per speaker. And if you want to come up and speak, just please fill out one of these blue cards. I do have 3 speakers here. First is Aaron Leal. Aaron, go ahead. You can come up.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and respective City Council members. My name is Aaron Liao, and I'm a representative from Alzheimer's Orange County. Dementia is a public health crisis, and Alzheimer's Orange County has been working in OC since 1982, supporting families coping with all forms of dementia, helping to expand the knowledge of professionals, and working to fund research until there is a cure. I'm here this evening to let you know how much we appreciate your support and supporting families suffering with this disease, and which robs patients of their minds and their memories and devastates families emotionally and financially. More than 164,000 people here in Orange County have either Alzheimer's disease or mild cognitive impairment. It's the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, 3rd leading cause of death here in Orange County. Alzheimer's Orange County is your local governing a community-based organization that's been providing families since 1982. Every dollar we raise here stays here in Orange County to provide locally responsive programs and a comprehensive array of free services, such as over 40 support groups here in Orange County, interfaith religious services specifically adapted for people with dementia. A matter of fact, we actually have one next month at Good Shepherd Presbyterian Church, the flyer of which is in the folder that I provided to each of you. We also provide education for healthcare professionals, family caregivers, and the general community, as well as a telephone helpline staffed by clinical social workers who are dementia care specialists, meant to serve family caregivers and professional caregivers as well. We also operate 2 adult day healthcare centers, Healthy Aging Center Acacia in Garden Grove, and Healthy Aging Center Laguna Woods, in Laguna Woods. Alzheimer's disease and related forms of dementia are not normal aging, and we must do all that we can to end dementia, or it will be the defining disease of the baby boom generation. Thank you so much. Anybody have any questions at all?
Any questions? I don't think so. Thank you very much for your presentation.
All right, thank you so much.
Next, we have, I can't really read. Is it Eric Franklin? Okay. Come on up, Eric.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm here tonight to talk about the tree maintenance, item K. The recommendation to award. The reason I'm here today is because you're not awarding to the lowest bidder, which is United Pacific Services. When I attended the pre-bid meeting, it was brought up to give the city the best price for grid pruning, and the city is going to really focus in on grid pruning price, and United Pacific did give you the lowest price. So that's why I'm here tonight. If WCA beat me on the lowest price, I wouldn't be here tonight. So that's why I'm here. And we do comparable work just like WCA does. We do work for the city of Downey, city of Southgate, city of Santa Monica, and other cities. So that's why I'm here tonight. And I think the city should look at the price. You know, some RFPs are structured differently. Maybe they have a total where they add up all the unit prices. Maybe they do quantities and add up and come up with a grand total. That's not the case here. This case here, you're focusing in on the grid prune price and your particular RFP. So I want to bring that to your attention. Okay. And we don't bid every city. We pick and choose the cities we bid. So we took a look at your city, and you're close by us. So that's one of the reasons why we submitted a bid on your city. In prior bids, we did not submit a bid because my wife worked with the former mayor and councilman here. So that's why we didn't submit in the past. But we're submitting this time. And that's it. Thank you. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Dan Gallagher.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, City Manager, Chief, and staff. My name is Dan Gallagher, and I am a director for the Los Alamitos Community Foundation. I have been asked to read a letter addressed to the City Council by the president of the Los Alamitos Community Foundation. Here, hoping. Dear Los Alamitos City Council, I am writing on behalf of the Los Alamitos Community Foundation to formally express our deep concern and disapproval regarding recent actions that there were perceived as abusing Councilmember Tricia Murphy's official powers regarding her dealings with TNT Fireworks and the Los Alamitos Community Foundation. It has come to our attention that Councilmember Murphy made 2 attempts to acquire sensitive financial information regarding expenses incurred through our cooperation efforts with TNT Fireworks. She inferred a lack of transparency and questions on how money is managed with the foundation. These inquiries suggest an overreach of her official capacities and responsibilities. Such actions not only compromise the integrity of our operations, but also violate the established norms and ethics expected from a member of the City Council. The Los Alamitos Community Foundation values transparency and fully complies with legal and regulatory frameworks designed to foster trust and cooperation among community organizations and local government. However, unilaterally obtaining detailed financial disclosures without prior discussion or appropriate procedural adherence is neither appropriate nor acceptable. This letter serves as a formal censure of Councilmember Murphy's actions, which we believe did not align with the values and standards expected of our city officials. We respectfully urge Councilmember Murphy to cease these inquiries and engage in a more constructive and officially sanctioned manner should legitimate concerns regarding any financial dealings exist. Please be advised that we consider these actions to be an overreach and a misuse of power on behalf of the individuals representing the city. The foundation will pursue any and all legal remedies available to protect our organization from unfair business practices, unwarranted attacks, or bullying of our vendors and business partners. We trust that moving forward, council members will consider the implications of their actions on the relationships and cooperative agreements critical to the community development endeavors in Los Alamitos. The foundation remains committed to transparent and principled collaboration and hopes to avoid such misunderstandings. Thank you for your attention in this matter. We look forward to your cooperation and adherence to the approachable standards that guide our community's leadership. Sincerely, John Delavane, President, Los Alamitos Community Foundation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Those are the only 3 cards that I have. Is there anybody else that wants to make public comment? Okay. At this point, we have updates from the mayor. So we have the Parklet series. Party on Pine continues with a live band playing on Pine Street every Thursday beginning at 6:30 p.m. For band information, please follow the city's social media outlets or visit the city's website. The LA District Sanitation Project, construction to rehabilitate an existing sewer pipeline located on Cerritos Avenue from Claremore Avenue to Chestnut Street, will begin the week of June 3rd. Traffic on Cerritos Avenue will be severely impacted for approximately 10 to 12 weeks. Please find alternate routes if possible. If you have any questions, please contact the Los Angeles County Sanitation District, 562-699-7411. At this time, we have updates from the city staff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think now I'm going to be the one without a microphone. This is my chance now to, since the city attorney doesn't have a way to stop me. I did want to point out a couple of things, Mr. Mayor. First is that the summer concert series will be beginning on June 13th, and so that'll be the handover from our Party on Pine over to the Recreation Department for their series that will take place out on Pine Street. Also wanted to point out that for those of you that have taken advantage to tour some of the new development that we have going on here in the Civic Center, you'll notice that the former LATV building has been completely demolished. There is a bunch of concrete and a lot of rubble over there at this point. So this is yet just another step forward in kind of the overall plan to redo the Civic Center. It will provide, free up some additional space as we continue to move things around the yard. So that is now taking place. And then lastly, I did want to mention, simply because they were up here before, the Public Works crew is quite possibly one of the hardest working crews in the city. They are called upon day and night to do the jobs that none of us want to get out of bed to do, and they do it largely without griping about it. They are equally committed to just making sure that this place stays the way that it should look. So again, I just wanted to add my praise to them for what they do. And with that, sir, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the warrants. So the attached warrant register contains checks and electronic funds transfers for the period April 1, 2024 to April 30th, 2024. And I just wanted to clarify something because it was brought up last week, or last meeting, I should say. The warrants procedure that we have, and this is just so the public knows, we used to get the warrants on Thursdays. And there was some issue with respect to, is that enough time to look at the warrants and address any questions that we would have? So now we get them a little earlier, and then all that we ask is that questions are asked ahead of time, so that way the staff can properly research any questions, and we usually get answers prior to the meeting regarding those questions. With having said that, if there are any new questions, those questions will just be noted and will be followed up at a later time. So I'll ask any of my colleagues, are there any further questions to be noted and followed up at a later date? Okay, not hearing any questions. Can I get a motion?
I'll move it.
A second.
And can I get a roll call vote?
Mayor Nafulda?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hasselbrink?
Yes.
Councilmember Dovey?
Yes.
Councilmember Hibbard?
Yes.
Councilmember Murphy?
Yes.
All right, so now we have the consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be acted upon by one motion unless a council member requests a separate action item. So does anybody want to pull any action items or consent items?
I'd like to pull K for the gentleman who came down and provided public comment.
Okay. Any others?
I'd like to pull F and G, please.
F and G, okay. All right, so we're going to pull K, F, and G. Can I get a motion for the balance?
I will move the balance.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, can we get a report on item number K?
Item K. Good evening, Mayor, member of the City Council. Item K is award a bid for tree maintenance services. So for the past several years, our contract for tree maintenance services was with West Coast Arborist. So after the many years, we decided to go out to RFP for it. And so we went through the process of RFP. We came to council to push out the RFP. We did the noticing. And basically, at the end of the day, we had, I believe, several companies submit. I believe it was 9 companies altogether. Then we have to rate the proposals based on the following criteria: completeness of the proposal, qualification, approach, reference, and of course, reasonableness of cost and price. And so when we do a RFP, with any type of RFP, we do lowest bid, but it's got to be lowest, most responsible bidder. So when you submit a bid, you got to make sure that your bid is tight, answering all the questions and providing all the criteria that we've asked for in the RFP. So technically, WCA, West Coast Arborist, was not the lowest. There was the second lowest price, but the lowest price company that did have the lowest price, their proposal was not responsive to the technical questions that we had in the RFP. So again, because of their failure to answer the questions, they were basically disqualified from it. So then we went to the second lowest, most responsible bidder, which is WCA, and that's why at the end of the day, we are recommending the award the contract to the West Coast Arborist. The contract is for 3 years, right, with 2, I believe, 3 years extension for a total of 9 years. And the 3 years, the first 3 years are locked in at a rate, and then the 2 other years are able to be increased to CPI, but with a cap of 2.5%. That concludes my report. I'm here to answer any questions.
Paula,
Oh, no, go ahead.
question, thank you. Sir, I'm sorry, I missed I don't recall the name of your company, but he was one of he provided a proposal that was not accepted. It was the lowest, if I'm understanding correctly.
So it says here that the lowest bidder was, and if this is the gentleman, I too didn't get his company name, was Ramirez Tree Services? Is that correct?
Perhaps could you just provide a response on why United Pacific was not selected? Help him.
So according to, again, I review it, but I don't see every single thing. But again, according to the team, Ramirez Tree Service had the lowest price per tree, and they were DQ'd because of their unresponsiveness to some of the questions. Again, I missed your company's name again, sir? United Pacific. Yeah, I will have to take a look more closely, but again, according to the team here and according to our rating, WCA was the second. It does not state here that there was a tie for second, but I would have to look into the, let me pull up the evaluation here. So just quickly reviewing this here, there's two types of services that we're asking for. There's a grid pruning, right? So the grid pruning is where we go to every neighborhood and we rotate it, right? So I believe we go to every neighborhood every 3 years to do the trimming, but there's also an on-call services that we do. So that's the second services. And by just, again, I'm just quickly looking at this right here, that your company, sir, United Services specifically, the on-call was a little bit higher for like grid stump removal. We purchase plants from them, whether it's a 24-gallon tree or a 15-gallon tree, their services are a little bit more. So again, just quickly, looking at it right here, that might be the reason why they weren't chosen as the ultimate awardee of this contract.
Higher price when it comes to purchasing plants, flowers, trees.
Yeah, we call that on-call services. So sometimes, so we in-house can do some trimming, but anything over 20 feet we cannot trim. So we call that on-call services. We don't do tree stump removal in the city. We call our contracted vendor to come out and do that. There's other items like if we need to purchase a tree, we have a memorial program where a purchase can purchase a tree. We usually purchase that tree from our vendor. And so, again, I'm just quickly looking at it without really taking a look, but it looks like that this gentleman's company seems like that on-call services are a little bit higher than the other companies that submitted a bid.
Thank you.
Any other questions on K? Can I get a motion for K?
I'll move it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll get back on the, what's that? Oh, any opposed? Any abstentions? The matter passes. Thank you. I'm going to get back on track with the alphabet here. We're going backwards. This is item F. Are there questions, or do we need a staff report?
Yeah, I have a few questions.
Okay.
So in regards to local events only, what is considered local? How is it measured?
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you, Councilwoman. I believe the local events are considered anything that is within Orange County, but also anything that might require less than called 35 to 40 minutes of travel. So those that would be taking place in maybe north, or I'll call it South Orange, LA County, or very north San Diego County.
Okay. And how were the authorized expenses selected as the preferred events for reimbursement for City Council?
I'm sorry, how was this list developed?
Correct.
So this is a list of items that were, in looking back with the city clerk over the past couple of years, of events that the city had participated in. And then the Budget Standing Committee was able to go through and look at these different organizations in order to see if they aligned with the overall operations of the city.
Great. I'm sorry, how far back was that? How many years?
I'm going to ask the city clerk too.
Past 2 fiscal years.
2 fiscal years. Great. Thank you so much. And you said it was the Budget Standing Committee that recognized that?
This is an item coming from the Budget Standing Committee.
Great. Great. I'm sorry, who's on the Budget Standing Committee again?
Mayor Pro Tem Hasselbrink and Councilmember Doby.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate the information.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion for item F?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? I'm sorry, any oppose? Any abstain? The item passes. And then finally, we have item G. Would you like a staff report, or do you just have questions?
No, just a few questions. In regards to, I noticed that the amortized cost is higher than the market value. In regards to municipal securities, there's a significant difference. Is there any, I guess, review for looking at alternate investment portfolios that do not have a loss?
There's always going to be a difference between market value and amortized cost. The investment itself realizes the full cost at maturity. I'm constantly reviewing different investment items that are authorized within our policy as we have it now, to see if there's a way to improve this over time.
Okay, because amortized cost is the purchase cost plus any fees that are incurred for the investment. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then the market value would be how much you could sell it on the market, usually by the maturity date. Is that correct?
It's the market value as of a given date. So this would be the market value as of March 31 for this report.
So that would be a loss as of today, correct?
If we were to sell that investment, yes.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. Thank you, Mr. Kohler.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion for item G?
I'd just like to make a quick comment before we vote on that. I just want to say thank you for answering my questions. I've had a lot of questions regarding, finances, but I do appreciate your responses, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll move the item.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item passes. Okay, we will now move on to public hearing. Item A, adoption of the fiscal year 2024-2025 annual operating budget.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I turn it over to Craig in order to go through this, I did want to say a few words. We will be going through the general fund budget tonight, and also there will be presentations from all of your department heads, talking about some of the goals for this upcoming year, and then some of the things that have been accomplished or that are currently ongoing at this moment. And Craig has a slide to this, but it's something that I want to bring up. And Craig, you're going to have to forgive me because I'm going to steal your thunder right out of the gate, if you don't mind. Could you advance to the first slide, please? So one of the things that we've been trying to do more and more is get more input from more and more people with regards to what actually goes into the budget. This is a practice that allows us not only to make sure that we're anticipating or looking at needs from a wider view. But it also is because we all recognize that we have blind spots. And I will be the first to say that I am not the keeper of all good ideas. And so one of the things that we did this year, which is a practice I'd like to continue, is meeting with various groups of staff throughout the city. And I'm not talking about one union versus another or anything like that. More, we broke the employee groups into small subgroups to give them an opportunity to actually voice their concerns or their ideas about what exactly was going on in the city, and also to talk about small little things that sometimes don't rise to the top whenever we're having a budget presentation. A perfect example of this, and it seems so simple when you think about it or when you say it out loud, but in the context of a $23-24 million budget, sometimes it doesn't come to the top. And it goes back to the public works guys. In sitting and talking with them, it became very clear that the one thing that they didn't have was an ice machine. These are guys that go out and gals that go out every single day to fill up their coolers with ice. Trying to get that much ice out of a fridge and having those small little ice cubes just doesn't work. And so the idea that getting one of those small little things could actually change the outlook of an employee group was incredibly satisfying, but also it makes this just a little bit better of a workplace. We also took the opportunity to take this to the Planning Commission and the Parks and Rec Commission in order to not only talk about some of the goals and objectives for the City Council and for the city moving forward, but also to allow them to become ambassadors and messengers out into the city and to their constituents or to the people that they're interacting with, so that they had a good understanding of where the city was financially, so that they can spread that message as well. And as you know, these are all people that were vetted through the City Council process, so obviously they are dedicated to the city and want to see us succeed. Obviously, those are public meetings, so it also gives an opportunity for the city to have more direct engagement with individuals in the city who were present at those meetings. And with that, Craig, I know I stole a couple of your bullet points, but I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, staff, and members of the public. I'm pleased to present this revised proposed budget for fiscal year 24-25. We had a couple of meetings beyond the meetings with the staff and the commissions with the Budget Standing Committee on April 22nd and also on May 6th. The budget was posted for public review on May 7th. We did do a current edit and revision as of today. Mainly it's a removal of references to the future rec baseball field, programming, revenues and expenses, and that's specifically page 465, 477, and 602 of the packet. We also added program expenses for the rec day camp, which was not previously included. This again is a 2-year budget cycle, 2 fiscal years. We asking for adoption for fiscal year 24-25, and we have a projection for the next fiscal year 25-26. The city initiated this practice back in 2021. This helps the city in focusing on short and long-range term goals, as well as the strategic aspects of projects and operations planning to ensure they align with the fiscal sustainability plan. It also assists in the development of future financial planning tools. Current market conditions and economy. Finance has been closely monitoring and tracking the economy over the past several months. This budget incorporates information from various sources, including updates from HDL, Beacon Economics, and the U.S. Treasury. I attended a academic forecast through UCLA webinar, which forecasts slow growth for the next few years. Other factors remain in play, however, and this includes the presidential election in November and other larger scale ongoing geopolitical risks. This page, slide 5, is the revenue projections for 24, 25, and 26. The revenues, combined revenues, including transfers in, are $24.1 million for 24-25 and $24.7 million for 25-26. This represents a 3.7% increase over the previously adopted budget for 23-24. The next slide is a pie representation of the revenue pieces, the largest piece being the orange. This is other taxes, which includes property tax, sales tax, Measure Y, business license, which represents 46% of the city's revenue. The other large piece is the property tax, which is the blue, represents about 23%. Some general fund highlights, projected revenues, again, 24-25, 24.1 million, 25-26, 24.7 million, and includes transfers in. This is anticipating the city will continue to experience slow growth and flattening of sales tax. Property taxes, however, are to continue an upward trend. Some additional highlights, UUT, or utility users tax, 2.3 million, franchise fees, 800,000, license and permits, 1.1 million, fines and forfeitures, estimate 1 million, reflects return to normalized level, and investment earnings, approximately 750,000, assumes continuation of strong market activity. Next slide, slide 9, is a general fund expenditure snapshot or picture. Proposed expenses for 24-25 are 23.1 million. Proposed expenses for 25-26 are 23.6 million. This represents a 2% increase over the prior 23-24 adopted budget. Next slide is slide 10, which is a pie chart of the expense pieces. You can see that police represents about 36%. With the blue, green is development service, the next largest pie, which is about 24%. And then we'll go into the departmental reviews, and each department will provide their presentation. I think first up is administration.
Thank you, Craig. And administration is, again, something that we have been working on with this budget over the last couple of years, is to continuously move and change the budget in order to make it serve the city the way that it should, and to try to make things as apparent or as transparent as possible. You will remember that a couple of years ago, we actually combined the three divisions or departments, the city manager, city clerk, and admin services, HR and risk, into one area in order to help us track expenses, but also realizing that we were sharing a lot of the different resources that were available to us. One of those things, and if I can direct you to the picture, the slide with all the pictures on it. Obviously, I was a lot younger in that picture. The reason for this is there's a lot of new faces within admin. Obviously, you've already had an opportunity to meet our new deputy city clerk, management analysts, Matthew, and analyst Ariana, are part of a team that we are actually rotating throughout the city. The purpose of this, and this has been an idea that we have been cultivating for the last couple of years, is to have essentially a very specialized team that has the ability to move from department to department whenever there is an issue in that department. The savings that's realized is we don't have a management analyst in each department, but they also have the ability to cross-train and become familiar with different pieces of the city operation. This also is a great retention tool, simply because each one of these management analysts might find their true calling as they shift around to different departments, and allows us to actually set up work programs that allow them to advance through the organization. So that is the reason for some of these pictures here. And I believe Matt is here in the back. If you want to wave. Matt's already proven his way with a lot of the work on the budget, and then also he has a number of legislative responsibilities that we are currently going through. Slide, please. So what you have here is some of the general city manager goals, and I won't go through them or read them to you line by line, but it really is about this year in terms of where exactly we see the goals of the administration section is streamlining our internal services, digitizing as much as possible, putting in place workflows that'll be more efficient, but also provide more transparency to the public. The idea to be able to have our residents have the ability to access information by themselves without the need to actually contact the city clerk. City clerk will still obviously be there to help with the people trying to find that information, but we've found that if we can deputize everybody into the process and provide them the tools to go out and find that information themselves, then it's a good thing for everybody who's involved. Obviously, developing citywide strategies for responsible growth and then economic development. The economic development plan, which Mr. Noda will talk about later, is being developed as we speak. I will mention quickly just the growing number of partnerships that we have. You're all familiar with the amount of progress that we have made with the base, JFTB, here in the last couple of years. A lot of this I will attribute to the garrison commander there, or the base commander, and his willingness to work with us, but also the fact that I think we have found in him a kindred spirit about what exactly is possible on that base, as opposed to what has traditionally just been said no to. That has also spurred on conversations at the higher levels, where we actually have the lieutenant colonel introducing people to very important decision makers throughout the California State Legislature, both on different committees, and then also just the management apparatus as to how exactly to go about getting things done on that base. And that is I guess a tool or an entryway that we have never had before. And so having that kind of partnership is incredibly important, especially as we look to take advantage of the area that's on the base and also provide them services and hopefully be able to tap into funding for their needs. One of the things that I did want to point out too is we would like to expand upon the success of locating alternative funding for sources for projects. I know Craig will get to it later, but right now we have anywhere between $10 and $12 million of grant programs that are currently working their way through various phases of the system. This is because we've been able to actually go out there and identify grants, have our projects shovel ready, and then be able to, the instant someone asks and says, hey, we have money available, we're able to put a project right in front of them. Some of them, and I won't do an exhaustive list, but again, the council's played, I think, a very important role in doing this, along with our intergovernmental affairs director, Emmeline Noda. But this year alone, we've already received word, and I think this was spearheaded by Mayor DeFolda, about funding that we're going to receive for the city's EOC. This obviously has to still go through the Appropriations Committee, has to make its way past Ways and Means, has to go through the entire sausage machine in Washington, but it's an earmark that the Congresswoman Steele has put in for us. And so that is, again, an area where we're going to be able to supplant the money that we were saving in order to put into that project. We now hopefully will have that funded by a federal grant. Another place, and again, this is, it's fun when we can also help out our partners. There was a request for OCFA in order to basically do an upgrade to the Fire Station 2. And had submitted $1 million grant, which was then supported by Mayor Pro Tem Hasselbrink. It appears that this is also making its way through the process right now. The last upgrade that was done to that building was the install of spring-loaded shower curtains. I think that $1 million is going to be, yes.
Not in showers, indoor ways.
So the idea being that we would get to a place here where the firefighters who service directly our Los Al residents will have a facility that they can actually be proud of, and one that will have some new materials and equipment in. So again, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This, and again, I'll just to make it all clear, was spearheaded by then Mayor Councilmember Doby, who last year alone was able to get us north of $3 million through a combination of state and federal grants. So there's I guess a growing hunger on the staff's end to see how exactly and how far we can push this program in order to be able to capture more and more of these dollars. What it does mean for this council, and I'll get to it a little bit later on after Craig's presentation, is the money that we have been saving due to the fiscal sustainability pledge that the council put in place has been growing over time. And since we've been able to not use those funds for these particular projects because we've been successful in going out and getting outside funding, we now have the ability to repurpose those funds. And so this will be a subject of conversation for the council and the Budget Standing Committee this year as to how exactly the City Council would like us to start developing a reserve policy and how exactly those funds can be used in order to either act as matching for additional grants or to allow us to go after even larger pots of money, not only through the grant program, but also potentially private or partnering with people in the private sector for investment. One thing, and I will just note it again, one of the major goals is to complete the transformation of the Civic Center. As you know, we've been doing a lot of work within City Hall 1 and in the police building. Police building's evidence room is currently just a shell. It's been torn completely apart. The evidence is in a Connex container right there, and it's painful to watch the records people walk back and forth in order to log evidence every day, but I'm very hopeful that this again will be something that will be completed soon. And I will point out that that project in and of itself was a suggestion of one of our staff members last year that finally made its way into the budget and is now being completed. So again, we don't have a monopoly on all the good ideas. It did come from one of our staff members, and now we're going to have a brand new evidence facility that I think the chief will tell me that it's not perfect, but it is dramatically better than what we have today. We have two buildings, Community Center 1 and Community Center 2, that are completely under renovation at this point. I walked through it today. The brand new lights are up. They're forcing me to pick a paint color for the building, which is never a good idea, so I'm going to hand that off to somebody else. We also, just as I mentioned earlier, we finally today finished the demo of the former LA TV building, and that will provide an exceptional space for us to begin to move things around the city yard in order to make the repairs that we need to make there. So again, these are all goals that we have and are looking to accomplish this year, all with no additional appropriations needed through the CIP project. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the city clerk to talk about all the advances that they've made there.
Good evening. As City Manager Simmons said, one of our big goals this year was transparency and improving our workflows and digitization. So the City Clerk's office, with the help of all of the departments, has spearheaded that. Our biggest one is our MyLosal Engage, and this is our community engagement platform. It's basically a landing page for all projects of significance within the city, so that you're not trying to navigate through the city's website. You can just go to MyLosal Engage, see the picture of the project you're interested in, and it gives you a timeline, how you can get involved. You can sign up for updates for any particular project that you're interested in. It is just launched. We have 3 projects up there right now. With more to come. We have the Senior Services Master Plan that's up there right now. We have the Lamson project up there, and then the recently completed neighborhood survey. So we have been pushing that out on social media to get people interested, sign up so they can get notified when a project of interest comes up. We also have increased the number of records available online. We use Laserfiche for our electronic repository, and through our partners are also noticing the need for increased transparency, so they've launched a lot of tools that make it easy for us to make records available for the public. As Chet said, we are still here, more than happy to help anyone who's interested, but if somebody's up at midnight and they want to look something up themselves, they're more than welcome to. Right now, all of our development services was all paper. We had paper plans, paper building files, paper everything. If you needed paper, we had to go out to the now demoed LATV building and pull it. We have now scanned all those in to be electronic. So as we go through and quality check those, we will start making those records available to the public as well. We do get a large number of public records requests for the building permits, so we'll be able to have those online so people can look for those themselves. We have also, we launched what it's called BidNet, and it's our online bidding process. This is for our RFP process. It ensures that all of the bids are uniform and follow the same procedures, and it's actually increased our reach to the number of vendors. So anyone who's signed up within the California bidding network automatically gets any of our RFPs that are significant to their area of interest. So that's, we launched that about a year ago, and it's going very well. Just recently, we launched our Form 700 electronic filing that has been available to the City Council and Planning Commission through the Fair Political Practices Commission, and we've now launched it to all of our commissioners and staff members. So everyone's using the same platform, and we can help everyone the same all across the board. And those filings are also now available. We're starting to get them available. Right now we have City Council up, but the 700 filings are also available through our online records portal through Laserfiche. And we've also increased the city's social media presence. We have a social media team within the city now, one person from each department, and we all coordinate to make sure that we have all the appropriate information going out to our community on a regular basis. Some of our goals for the upcoming year. As you all know, we have an election on November 5th, so that will be our main focus this year. We have 3 seats. Council just gave us authority to go out and see if the community would be interested in a charter amendment to align us better with the good governance and current practices. We are in the process of launching the passport acceptance facility. We are actually up and running now with minimal hours. We're doing part-time mornings and afternoons 2 days a week. So we'll see how that goes, how the demand is the community. We're trying to keep it cost neutral, so any of the applicant fees just go back into the program and it pays for itself. This is just a service that we can provide the public now that the city clerk's office is fully staffed. You can see in the picture there, I'm me, your city clerk. We have Eleanor, your deputy city clerk, and then Catherine is the clerical assistant. We are also going to continue to enhance the communication with the community. Like we said, the My Los Al Engage is relatively new. We just started our social media platform for that, so we're going to start getting that information out, see how many people we can get signed up and interested in that. And to continue the digitization process throughout the city. So as I mentioned, the city clerk's office is already digitized. We are working on development services. We're almost complete with that. And then we'll be helping finance with their accounts payable and payroll, human resources getting their personnel files, and police department with their records. That will be a big one. And that's it for us.
Before Wendy finishes and we move on to HR, I do want to mention that I'm not even going to try to say it, digitizing an entire department or digitizing an entire city is a huge undertaking. We have been slowly trying to do this piece by piece through the city without disrupting just the normal operations. And I'll hand it to Wendy. The processes and also just the know-how of how to do this is a big boon for the city, and will obviously be assisting us as we make our moves into various other places within the city. And so Wendy becomes not only your city clerk, director of communications, she now becomes basically your integration expert as to how exactly we start putting new systems and work flows in place. So Wendy, again, congratulations and fantastic job. With that, I'd like to move on to Ms. Wilson with Human Resources and Risk Management.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I know that in Los Alamitos, we treat our employees how we want them to treat our residents and our business owners. And this is why we have focused on creating a defined human resources department. You can see here in the slide, we have a total of 141 employees for the city. 67 are full-time, 74 are part-time, and then you can see how it's divvied up through the department. So we listed here a few of our top accomplishments this past year. We successfully developed a human resources department, and by doing this, in turn, we decreased liability and we increased morale, which increases retention and attracts higher quality employees. We have added a management analyst, Ariana Enciso, that assists with all the recruitment, internal process, and the applicant tracking. She streamlined our benefit forms, implemented a new hire welcome box, and we also added Susanna Ives who is our department secretary, to manage all of our administrative needs, social media, events, and our job fairs. We also implemented an employee wellness program this past year, which improved our general health, the well-being of our employees, improves productivity, improves morale and attitude, and reduces turnover. We implemented a Wellness Wednesday that helps with wellness tips, where a regular email is sent out to staff with positive wellness information. Inside City Hall, you'll find a new positive message board that we plan to expand to all the buildings. We also added a quarterly lunch and learns where we've had topics from stress management, workplace wellness. We did a fentanyl training this past week. And then everyone's favorite was our De-Stress with Dogs visit. Currently, we have our Summer Fit Challenge, where we're doing walking Wednesdays and we're walking to the different city parks, and it seems like everybody's really enjoying this. We also updated our personnel rules and regulations. As with all of our policies and rules, they need to be updated to address changes in the laws, best practices, and our city operations. We realigned the 457 and life insurance responsibilities. So Human Resources acquired this responsibility for the 457 and life insurance, and we're currently just looking and confirming that all documents are updated. We, as you know, successfully completed negotiations with the POA, and we're very pleased with this agreement going forward. We also are implementing our new Employee of the Quarter. So we are able to recognize our full-time employees with the city and honor those who have gone above and beyond. We will be awarding our first recipient in July, and we look forward to inviting the person that's being recognized to a future council meeting. We've increased social media presence and our recruitment presence by adding Susanna Ives, our department secretary. She's been responsible for, again, the social media and job fairs. She's out at the job fairs at the high schools, at the local colleges, and it's made our recruitment a lot more successful. We are also in the process of streamlining the recruitment and employee integration. Management analyst Ariana Enciso has taken this responsibility, organized and streamlined the recruitment internally, and assisted with getting quality candidates in the door quicker. We have had approximately 55 new hires this past year, including full-time, regular part-time, and our temporary part-time. All right. And for our goals for Human Resources, we are going to continue with our employee wellness because it has been so successful. We are in the planning stages to see what we're going to continue with this next year, reaching out to staff to see what they all are appreciating. But we know in August, we're gonna add a financial wellness lunch and learn. We are going to invest in all of our trainings for the employees, one being adding and implementing a supervisory academy. This is a training workshop that's designed to support our supervisors and our managers and help develop the skills and knowledge to improve the working relationships, the performance, and to provide coaching to the supervisory role. We are integrating to a new human resources recruitment system. We're transitioning from Civic HR to Criterion, and their Criterion currently houses all of our recruitment and application tracking. We also plan to successfully complete all negotiations with all of our bargaining units, and we hope to have a Teamsters ratification soon. We are digitizing the interview process. Currently, we use paper binders and paper for everything. So we are in the process of transitioning to iPads to make everything a little, to streamline everything. We also are digitizing our personnel records, as our city clerk stated out. All of our personnel files currently are paper. And with currently scanning these documents into Laserfish, this is going to assist our record retention, but also have our files more easily accessible and work more efficiently. Lastly, our CalPERS open enrollment and employee health fair. The CalPERS open enrollment is in September, and we We will organize an employee benefit fair where the employees can come gather information and the representatives are available to answer questions, help guide the employees through their decision-making process. So I know that we are treating all of our employees how we want them to treat our residents and our business owners. I can tell you we're in good hands, and that concludes Human Resources.
I did want to mention a couple of things. Just, again, Human Resources obviously becomes part of the unsung heroes simply because they're behind the scenes, but I'll be furthest to tell you, and I know the chief will concur, you can't have a police officer without an HR department. You can't hire a public works person without an HR department. You can't keep the place going without an HR department. And one other small thing, and again, this is behind the scenes, but again, I think it shows some of the value of what exactly they're trying to do. The lunch and learns that they hold. So the last one was about fentanyl. And I believe that there was, I can't remember, I want to say around 40 people that attended that particular training. That's 40 people that are now walking around packing Narcan. So if they are ever in a situation where they run into somebody who is potentially ODing, either at home, out in the field, here in the city, they will be able to administer that because they were trained during one of these lunch and learns. So again, I know it's a small thing, but again, it pays dividends if someplace out there in the future, somebody is able to save a life because they were properly trained on how to use that tool. And with that, I'll kick it over to Craig for finance.
All right, thank you, Chet. The finance department is the smallest department within the city. We have 4 full-time, 1 part-time. The directors with myself. The manager position is vacant. I have Megan Lovato as the accountant. Salvadani Wang also goes by Danny as the senior finance assistant. And then I have Carolyn Gossett as the clerical assistant part-time. Some of the highlights over the last fiscal year, we had purchases of over $6 million of goods and services, consisting of over 120 purchase orders. In that, we issued over 3,000 checks. I have actively managed a $25 million investment portfolio, and the city received an award for financial reporting. Some of the finance department goals moving forward, one's been mentioned as digitizing the AP warrants, and this also includes the CalCard processing. Other enhanced budgeting tools, which was one of the things being proposed with this budget, is eliminating the internal service fund charges. And this is in favor of direct transfers from the general fund. This creates additional levels of transparency. Another big one is to digitize or automate the payroll so that we can have moved away with the timesheets. It'll be electronically submitted throughout the city, and the employees will receive their statements electronically through email. We also were looking at the cost recovery study, which is already underway, and that should be completed sometime later this year. And then also doing RFPs for auditing services and banking services. Some of the achievements for finance, which are more than mentioned, is the GFOA Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting. That's for the Financial Report ACFR for the fiscal year 21-22, and we're anticipating the award for fiscal year 22-23. Reaffirmed a AAA credit rating by Standards & Poor's, and grew the city's investment portfolio by 23% from 22 million to over 25 million, realizing investment earnings of approximately 800,000. That concludes finance.
I do want to mention one thing in addition to what Craig said about finance. So obviously, modernizing and digitizing AP warrants, CalCards, warrants, and such it's one of our top priorities here moving forward. Our commitment is that prior to us getting to winter this year, that we will have that system completely up in place and running. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Noter in Development Services.
Thank you. Good evening again, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council, and the public. So Development Services. So I kind of simplify things sometimes and tell people that development services is 6 divisions. In reality, we are 13 divisions in the city. And so I just kind of consolidate that. So the 6 divisions that we have is building and safety, code enforcement, economic development, engineering services, public works, planning, and is that the 6? And building and safety. So those are the 6 right there. But again, in reality, we have 13 divisions that we oversee. So some highlights that we have this past year. We are in charge of business licenses in the city, so we have to deal with, we contract out with HDL. So we have 140 new businesses that came into the city this past year. And of course, we have a little bit over 1,700 business license renewal. Business license renewal are done in August. So we're gearing up with the outreach, and then again in August. Code enforcement, they closed 390 cases. Again, those are cases that we close in the city. Zoning, which is part of our planning, went through 135 applications. Public Works, we have, they completed about 1,150 service requests completed this past year. We also do encroachment permits, which is, we issued out 107 encroachment permits. Where encroachment permits is whenever there's work done in the city's right of way, like a street or a sidewalk, they have to apply for a permit. And sometimes if they close a street, we have to go through the whole traffic plan with them. Wide load permits, 116. So anytime a big truck rolls through the city that is considered a wide load, they have to apply for a permit there. And I put down here that we completed over 8,000 linear feet of sidewalk repair this past year. Planning, a big one for planning was we are RENA certified, and we continue our outreach for our town center mixed use. Building and safety, we have 300 and approximately 60 permits issued. We did almost 400 plan checks. They went out there. We have a 2-man crew doing over 1,300 inspections this past year. And part of that too is WQMP, which is water quality management practices, and NPDS, which is stormwater. We have to inspect those as well whenever there's a new development or a large commercial that is pushing water into their storm drains. We have to go out there and check to make sure that they are compliant with the state. We put down here maintenance. We have 55 miles of street that we maintain annually, 18 parks, and of course, we have 30,000 square feet of city facility that our Public Works Division maintains. Permits, again, we have there, and then of course, we do capital improvement projects. This past year, we had $11 million worth of capital improvement projects, and that's 30+ projects. So something our size city, I think the city manager and our finance director mentioned we're roughly, this past year was what, $22 million in our budget. Approximately half of that, 11 million was, well, it's not half of that, but 11 million, which is almost half the budget, was capital improvement projects. So again, I have to explain a lot when I'm out there, and they say, what is development services, right? And so development services, I basically break down here is pretty much three departments: is economic development, public works, and community development. And so altogether, we established a physical development of the community, right? And through these main divisions, we established a long-range vision for Los Alamitos and maintain the mechanism to guide physical development to promote livability, aesthetic value, and economic development. The department shall also plan, design, operate, and maintain public infrastructure, including streets, landscaping, parks, storm drains, buildings, vehicles, equipment, including technology, and to safely, efficiently, and effectively protect the city's physical investment through maintenance, replacement, and repairs of all assets, therefore providing a safe, clean, and pleasant environment for all. I also, even though a lot of the departments here, but we're an internal and external function. So as you noticed today in Public Works, when we did the presentation for the app, when a member of the public puts in a service request, we respond, but we also respond internally as well. If there's something going on in PD, or there's something going on in another department's building or fleet, we respond to that as well. So our goal, I keep it really simple, and I stress this to our team almost bi-weekly, because I have a meeting with them every 2 weeks, is that we are aiming to provide first-class customer service to our residents and to our internal partners, our team members here. We establish a structured, efficient, and transparent workflow, and we cultivate a work culture that provides growth, teamwork, and positive morale. So next is our achievements. I'm not going to go every one, and this is actually not all the achievements that we have accomplished here in the city, but I just want to highlight a few, right? So let's see, building and safety, again, a couple there that people just might not know, but we extended our counter hours. Before our counter hours from 7:30 to 10:30, now we extended it to 7:30 to 12:30. We established WQMP and NPDES inspection. Again, those are water quality management practices and national pollution discharge. Oh my God, I'm blanking on the E. Systems, again, it's stormwaters. Again, anytime there's the development or a commercial property is pushing water into our storm drains, we have to go and inspect that. And of course, we collaborate on our FOG fog program, which is fat, oil, and grease. So anytime a restaurant has that, we partner with our Rossmore, Los Alamitos Sewer District, because a lot of times they push that stuff in drains, and you're really not supposed to, right? Code enforcement. The big one here is we extended services to 7 days a week. So we have code personnel here 7 days a week. And, you know, one thing that we like is multi-faceted team members. So code enforcement has done a lot of training this past year. The one I put here is traffic control setup and tear down. So not only is our public works ready to respond if needed, our code enforcement can do that as well. Economic development, we are developing a full-fledged ED division. We still got a little bit ways to go, but we're definitely on that right path. And I think as council is where we're doing an economic strategic plan currently right now. And so again, we're probably a few weeks away to getting that final report where we'll come back and do a presentation to council. But once we get that report, then we're gonna try to see what our objectives that we can do that to implement in the city. And again, we have programs there, which is Pine Streets. That was part of the Celebrate La Salle program or event. And right now, currently, we're doing our Revitalize program as well. And we actually have good feedback. I think we're almost exhausting all our funds, so we might have to come back to council for a phase 2. Engineering, the big one there I want to say is capital improvement projects. So again, like I mentioned in an earlier slide, $11+ million, 30 CIP projects. And then a couple of the projects they've done recently is a sidewalk assessment. So that's where we went out there, did a sidewalk assessment. So we know every location where we need to do a replace of concrete. We're still working on that, but I like to report right now that all our sidewalk grinding in the city is completed. So that makes it safer for people to walk around the city or bike around the city. And we also do a traffic commission as well with the engineering division. Planning, we did a revised park fees. So again, council recall that we came in and revised our park fees. And then we also do active transportation plan initiatives. So again, they're a big part where we got awarded last year from Congresswoman Steele for the Bloomfield Street project, and that's an ATP plan, so planning assisted with that. And of course, they'll help assist with the Planning Commission. And of course, Public Works, they do fleet procurement maintenance. We've increased our our street parks and facility maintenance. They just recently did an Arbor Day event over at Laurel Park. So again, we have many, many achievements, and those are just some of the highlights. This is the org chart that we have. Even though it looks like there's a lot of boxes, I want to say that we are a small but mighty team. Again, we have basically 3 departments in the city. Not the 3, there are 3 departments in development services. But I just want to take a moment to give development services kudos on the effort they provide the city every day. I know all the directors here, not just me, push their team to the fullest. I am not one, I am with them. I push them every day, and I've been the director of development service. This June will be my 4th year, I believe. And they have never let me down, and I just want to say thank you to them. Again, they display one city, one team, not only internally but externally. Like I said, we help all departments as best we can. We assist property owners, we assist residents, and of course, we help each other out as best we can as well. So I want to say thank you to them. So these are our goals that are coming up, and as you can see, we have a lot of goals that we have. Again, I'm not going to go over every single one, but again, our goal here is capital improvement project. I stress to the team, on budget, on time, and we are trending that way, on budget, on time. Some goals that we have here is, we used to call it Sunset Saturday. We took a little brief break, but we're calling it Party on Pine. We are bringing that back. We are slated to hopefully bring that back in the month of August. So stay tuned on that. We're going to do a traffic impact fee update. Like I said, I'm not going to go every single one. We're going to have some software that will assist us to, again, assist with our workflow and our record keeping, such as our asset management software, fleet management software. We want to expand our business license services, so we want to kind of bring it more in-house and not really rely on our contracted vendor HDL as much. We still be utilizing them, but we want to have a little bit more customer service to our businesses here. We want to put pre-approved ADU plans. I think someone told me that Southern California, specifically our area, is the #1 region for ADUs in the state of California. So we want some pre-approved ADU plan, again, to assist people on there. I mentioned Revive Phase 2 that we want to bring back, neighborhood entry signage. We want to continue with the tactical urbanization of Pine Street. So we have a parklet series there. We have Celebrate Los Al there through the Recreation Community Services Department, concert series, again, through them, and trying to think of other ways to tactical urbanize Pine Street. The Development Services Manager, Montenegro, stated in his presentation that we're expanding public works services. So we're going to expand to 7-day coverage starting in mid-July to, again, service the community as fast as we can. And again, just another one in economic development, a small business marketing strategy that we're developing right now with our partners. And then we're going to do a Keep Los Alamitos Safe campaign along with the rest of the city here, from PD to recreation, and again, applying secure alternate funding. This is a big one because we do the bulk of infrastructure, and so we are out there along with our partners out there and other members of the team. I think City Manager Simmons mentioned our analyst sitting to my right here, Matt Leitner, assists us along with the other two analysts that we have. That's our goal, is to try to get money to fund infrastructure or programs so we don't have to tax or utilize city funding as best as we can. So that is a goal that the city manager has stated to me and to the team, and we're trying to do that as best we can. And I want to mention that, again, we are trying our very best to become the best city ever by implementing best-in-class services. I just want to highlight a little bit on capital improvement projects. So as you can see, again, this is not all of them, but we're currently underway on the the left column and the middle column. Again, we have 2 park projects, Stearns Park, Labradette Park. We have a lot of design. So then when we get that funding from hopefully a grant or an appropriation, we're ready to go. Or we have what we mentioned, shovel-ready projects, so we can apply for that grant. We have a tennis resurfacing project, a tennis fencing project. We're designing, again, the PD locker room. We have some signal light head replacement LED project, again, Bradbury Rossmore Way signal relocation. We got a lot going on. And then I want to put here that for fiscal year 2024-25, we have a PMP plan, which is our pavement management plan. We, again, more design to have shelf-ready projects. We have another Sir Optimus Park project, another park project coming up. Again, that park will be paid for by a grant called Prop 68. And then, of course, SB1 and CDBG projects. Those are mainly street projects that we're going to do out in the city. And signage replacement. So we did a sign assessment survey. And so phase 1 of that replacement to update the city and to get signage up to the state mandated, there's reflections and signage size and all that stuff. So phase 1 will start once we get that. My last slide here is something that is challenges that we face in development services. So the big one there at top is deferred or failing infrastructure. I can't tell you that every time we do something, as we peel a layer, we find something wrong. right? And again, it's natural. We have 1960 buildings, 1970 buildings. We have 60, 70 streets and parks and stuff like that. And so, again, that is a challenge that I face with the team like almost weekly. Rising costs. Every year, cost goes up anywhere between 10 to 20%, right? And it's something that we have to face. And again, with our state mandate that we're already paying prevailing wages, the cost keeps rising and going up and up and up. We mentioned it before, our procurement procedures, because our charter was made in 1960, and the Public Works procurement procedures are embedded in that, this delays us on how quickly we can act tremendously. And so that's a hurdle that we have to face. Economy slowdown, again, economic development, how do we get people to continue supporting the city? And so we entered, I put up there a campaign to shop local, eat local, play local, stay local, and we're gonna continue to do that. That's, I mentioned earlier, one of our goals is a small business marketing strategy that we're coming up with right now. We deal with mandates, again, I know PD deals with this a lot, but we deal with mandates with no state funding, whether it's recycling, whether it's coming up, I went to an EV trade show just last week because we have to start thinking about electric vehicles. And then starting in January 1 of 2025, we have to possibly replace all our small motors, such as blowers and weed whackers, because the state's saying that we have to convert that to battery. So again, those are, again, mandates that we have no state funding. And staff retention, right? It seems like every time we take 2 steps forward, sometimes we have people leave or people for whatever reason. And so, I know we're trying to curb that trend, as Ms. Wilson stated in her presentation, but we deal with that. And so every time we take 2 steps forward and a staff person leaves, I feel like we take 3 steps back because we got to start the training over again. And at the pace we move, that's very detrimental to what we do. So again, these are just some of the challenges that we face. Again, we're not the only department that faces that, but again, this makes it very difficult for us to do our job. But again, I give kudos to the team because they're very creative, hardworking, and it seems like we are able to get the job done to the best of our ability. So again, thank you. That's Development Services.
Sorry, before we move on to Recreation and Community Services, I do want to echo one of the things that Ron said already, is that the amount of output that is coming from this department and the various divisions is not normal at all by any stretch. And I do think that that has a lot to do with the director and the managers and how exactly they go about planning their businesses. And, Ron made the comments about staff retention. That is a big piece of trying to ensure that we do not lose speed as we move through these projects. I'm happy to say that, over the last couple of years, or maybe the last year, we've lost 4 people, 2 to retirement, which I don't think you can fight that, and 2 from other departments taking advantage of other opportunities that were out there. One got a promotion that was actually 2 rungs above where she currently was, and then another who left in order to pursue a job at another agency that was much larger, that she felt that she would have more chances for advancement there. This all dovetails nicely into the stuff that we're talking about with HR, about the importance of building that internal structure so that our staff feel supported going forward, so that we can hopefully have and continue the output that we're having out of our high-performing departments. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Noda.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Recreation and Community Services, we bring the party. We are the party. And our whole goal is to bring a smile to our residents' face. And if we are not doing that, please report to City Manager Simmons, because we try to only hire folks and train them to do the best we can for our community and show compassion and empathy and connection. Our tagline is creating quality of life, and we serve thousands of residents, participants each year, all ages and all abilities. This is our org chart. There are about 60 to 70 party planners and programmers, and our frontline staff
in the summer months, it's our busiest time, and I invite you to come and see our programming during the summer, as we have hundreds of kids and seniors and our community center bursting at the seams. What we are really proud to say is that even during construction, and thanks to Development Services for helping us develop this beautiful new community center, which hopefully we will have a grand reopening soon, we have been able to sustain programming, doing a partnership with American Legion and using Community Center 2, and being just really creative and resourceful with not having to shut down our services and classes just because we're under construction. So kudos to the team. We couldn't do it without all of the partners that I'll be highlighting soon. Our programs and classes, I like to use pictures, but some of our accomplishments this year, we brought Adaptive Recreation Monthly Meetups, sponsored by our Los Alamitos Community Foundation. We brought back aquatics programming in partnership with the Los Alamitos Unified School District at the high school. We began our Senior Services Master Plan process. We expanded senior fitness programs, partnered with Long Beach Table Tennis, brought back pickleball, established senior lecture series, added 11 new contract instructors and 25 new classes to total over 500 classes offered throughout the year. We added party packages, because what parent really wants to plan their own birthday party? And we expanded day camp with the experience of incorporating specialty camps into day camp so that the kids have a fuller and more enriching experience throughout the summer. Under the guidance of our Director of Communications, Wendy Quintana, we work with her for our marketing, website, social media. We have our in-house graphic designer who also assists with citywide graphics, and we are very proud of the marketing outreach that we have in the community, and all the departments are able to help utilize and get the word out through these avenues. Our events, not in any particular order. Race on the Base, Weekend of Art, Spring Carnival, Senior Prom, Teen Expo, Summer Concert Series, 3rd of July, Trunk or Treat, Women's Conference, Winter Wonderland, Celebrate LaSalle in conjunction with the Police Department and Development Services, and Serve LaSalle. We offer nearly 20 events per year and try to keep the community as engaged as possible. Like I said, our talent is uniting the community in terms of the residents, the businesses, the nonprofits, the churches. We are able to unite 12,000 people out at the Joint Forces Training Base, for example, on 3rd of July, and we're very proud that we can do this with our small team, but our mighty workforce. Like I said, we cannot do anything without our partners. We just had a Serve LaSalle meeting today, and we had so many of our service nonprofits there exchanging ideas, networking, being able to say, hey, if you don't offer that service, I do. We're actually developing a Serve LaSalle resource guide so that each nonprofit, if they don't offer a particular service, we can say, hey, this resource guide here, you can find those that offer food services or rental assistance or whatever it is that they weren't able to easily have at their access. Now we are able to develop that, so we're very excited about that. Memorial Care and UWS have been huge partners, as well as Southline Credit Union, our Community Foundation, the Chamber, Cypress, Seal Beach, and Rossmore, of course our Los Alamitos Unified School District. I can't thank all of our partners enough for the support that they give us to be able to offer many of our free events to the community. Some of our goals for this year include our United Teen Program, which is a student mentoring program we're very excited about, and they are gonna go out in the community and do service projects and learn about the different areas of the city, the different departments, and it's a mentoring program. We're gonna be expanding our adult sports offerings with expanded facilities, expanding the Celebrate LaSalle event. You'll see new event features there. Expanding our adaptive recreation with the Los Alamitos Unified School District and PTA Council, thanks to the Los Alamitos Community Foundation. We're expanding our Little Oak Preschool program to reformat to 5 days a week for ages 3 to 5. expanding our aquatics program at the MWR Aquatic Training Center at the Joint Forces Training Base, completing and executing our senior services master plan, beginning a parks and recreation master plan, and expanding a race on the base participation. As we were so excited that we were able to return thanks to Lieutenant Colonel Fox. The participants were so excited to return to the base and run onto the airfield, and we just want to see if we can bring back some of the numbers pre-COVID, so that's one of our goals. And I think that wraps it up for recreation.
Thank you, Emmeline. I did want to mention one thing, too, and again, it doesn't necessarily show up in the slides, but I think most city managers have a tendency to think of Parks and Rec as something that you put on autopilot and just let it go. This really is our window to the community at the end of the day. This is what we are known for, and that's a testament to Emmeline and her team. But I also will point out that Emmeline also serves as our Director of Intergovernmental Affairs, which is a new role here that Council put in place last go-around at the budget cycle. And that has already paid significant dividends in terms of the relationships that we've been able to build and how exactly those are going to open doors for us in order to do not only have access to additional funds, but also the partnerships that it's creating. The ability to pick up the phone and call a general up in Sacramento is unheard of for a city of our size, and to have that general pick up the phone and say, what do you need, is something that is important. So I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem and then also Director Noda for the work that you guys have done on that front. With that, I'll turn it over to the Chief.
All right, thank you. Go ahead and get started, but before I do, I wanted to mention a couple things real quick. One is that we're all thankful to the police department that Officer Cruz, our one officer that has been deployed in the military defending our country, is now back in the United States, safe and sound in one piece. He is not back to work yet, but at least is in the country. And we will be acknowledging him at the next city council meetings. All of us in here will have the opportunity to welcome him back. And one more thing is I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the captains and support services manager who are here supporting me today to answer any questions that you may have. I think they have just done a phenomenal job that has shown its merit within the police department, and the fruits of the labor that they've put in is every time we open up a position within the police department, the quality of the applicants just continues to increase more and more to the point where we're turning people away that we never would have in the past, and I just wanted to thank each one of them for that. So now we'll go ahead and get started with the administration division. So the administration division is authorized one sworn peace officer position, that would be me, and one professional staff employee. And our primary responsibilities are to ensure the effective and efficient delivery of all police services by clarifying the mission, cultivating a collaborative culture, boosting morale, and creating an environment of accountability. And as you can see here, our prospective budget for FY 24-25 being $8.2 million. Now, some of the goals from 23 and 24 was to address some of the leadership vacancies within the organization, and I have color-coded some of these goals as green as having been completed, yellow being in progress, or red that we have not got to yet. So we have been able to develop and promote internally to fill 6 of the last 7 vacant leadership positions. And the one unicorn that was from the outside might be in the room right now, sitting in the back. Let's see, recruitment and retention of police department personnel. So, knock on wood, no officers have lateraled out of the Los Alamitos Police Department during my tenure. And we have been able to achieve full staffing. And to demonstrate prudent fiscal management of police department's budget, and this is one of the things that I've really strived to achieve, and that is by obtaining grant funding for personnel such as the SRO, OCAT, the motor position, or equipment such as the armored vehicle and training that we get for the active shooter courses. So the goals in 24 and 25 are to develop and mentor supervisors within the organization as part of a succession plan to ensure that they will continue to promote through the organization after I am gone. to reach full staffing. Once again, that is a moving target. We're always going to have that there for recruitment and retention, because that will be a dynamic that will change over time. And to add a 26 sworn police officer position, which we hope to be subsidized through asset forfeiture monies. Now, I've added a few photos here to kind of portray some of the changes in morale and culture. And these things are changed by pretty much everybody in this room, to include the council. I mean, the morale in the police department improves by the contract being pushed through, which each one of you had a hand in. So we're all thankful for that, as well as the culture that we've been able to create. The staffing, that we've been able to get the numbers up. And so what is the fruits of all that labor or organizational success? As you can see here, we've had an officer get recognized by the Attorney General himself, Merrick Garland, for the outstanding work that he did in community-oriented policing. Next is going to be our operations division, which is authorized to have 18 sworn peace officer positions and 4 professional staff employees. And they are the most visible members of the police department out in the field. So the operations division is made up of the Patrol Bureau and the Traffic Bureau, and their primary responsibilities are to reduce crime and improve the quality of life for the community that we serve. And some of the patrol goals for 23-24 were to identify and implement technology, equipment, and training to become more efficient and effective, which they've been able to do. And my apologies for not having one of these bullet points on here, and that was to implement a canine program. And I would love to be able to put that in green to be able to say and thank the Community Foundation, who's here tonight, for enabling us or helping us to be able to do that. But the K-9 program is just scratching the surface of what they're going to be able to do over years to come as we partner with the school district. Like, we've barely begun to implement the K-9 program here. Next would be to update the mobile data computers, the MDCs that are used in the patrol cars, which is in progress, to obtain and deploy the new patrol rifles, which we recently got the last shipment in, so they are out and fieldable at this time, and continue to update and modernize the police department's fleet of vehicles. And we are very close to achieving that, to having an entirely new fleet of vehicles, to include our newest one that arrived, which will be for the volunteers themselves to be able to be out in the field. And then FY 24-25, some of our future goals are to remodel and modernize both the property and evidence room as well as the men's locker room, to review and evaluate technology to improve our day-to-day processes for patrol operations, and initiate contract services for a new vendor for all the fleet graphics, and evaluate the field training officer program, which will include an update of the FTO manual. For our traffic goals is to apply and obtain an OTS grant to offset the cost of the motor officer position and other traffic-related equipment, which we were awarded. To re-implement the motor officer position, and as I stated, Officer Cruz is now back in the country, so we hope to have him back trained. It'll take us a while to get him caught up to all of his training that he needs to be updated on, and then receive the new motor and get him into motor training. And lastly, to expand the Redflex red light camera system, which we have done. And for 24-25, we want to increase the capabilities and training of the Serious Traffic Accident Response Team, also known as the STAR team, to conduct DUI checkpoints using OTS grant funding, enact new municipal codes as part of an e-bike safety program, and utilize the motor officer position to address some of the areas of traffic safety concerns, such as the schools and the large arterial roadways. And some photographs of some of this stuff in action, our community-oriented policing philosophy, and seeing our senior program being attended by some of our patrol officers, and a patrol officer there out in the field, as well as our K-9 program with Elvis being deployed. And once again, thank you to the Community Foundation. And there's an image there of the new patrol rifles that have been outfitted and are in the PD. And so what does that organizational success look like within the police department? And you see some photographs up here of some success stories of what we've been able to do through some enforcement operations out in the field. And so that's what the success would be for the patrol division. And next, we're going to go into investigations and administrative services. And they are authorized to have 6 sworn peace officer positions and 7 professional staff employees. The Detective Bureau's primary responsibility is to investigate criminal cases and present them to the District Attorney's Office for filing. The Administrative Services Division's primary responsibility is to maintain confidential police records, property and evidence, and multiple other law enforcement systems. Now, the investigations goals for 23 and 24 were to simply identify and implement technology and equipment and training to become more efficient and effective as we try to get them up to speed with the best practices in our industry. So that has been done. In 24 and 25, we want to increase the Detective Bureau's capability to leverage human intelligence and technology to further criminal investigations, utilize existing information systems and investigative tools to recover stolen property and return it to the victims, educate our aging community members to better identify internet and phone-based scams, and continue to collaborate with the surrounding jurisdictions to arrest suspects who commit crimes in Los Alamitos but reside outside the city. As far as records go, it's to identify and implement technology and equipment to bring the records division in line with the industry's best standard, which we are in the process of doing with digitizing the records, as the city clerk's office mentioned earlier. For 24 and 25, conduct an audit to identify and purge the records that have passed the department's retention schedule, and this will prevent the unnecessary digitizing of records that should have been purged. The reorganization and physical layout of the Records Bureau to allow more efficient workflow, and further incorporate the process of digitizing the records through Laserfish, and cross-training police aides and VIPs to be able to help us with digitizing those historical documents. As far as the youth programs go, it's to expand the services that are provided by the school resource officer, which has been done. And 24 and 25, identify drug interdiction programs and our opportunities within the school district. Further participate in after-school programs where the SRO can continue to build relationships with our community's youth to ensure the safety of the students and the staff. The SRO will be trained in juvenile investigations and carry a caseload of juvenile crimes, and acquire an outfit and deploy a new SRO vehicle. Some photographs here to depict that. You can see Detective Smith here, who is an investigations division, is one of our detectives, and he is conducting a briefing on one of his cases, which they're utilizing the West County SWAT team. The youth programs that we have here in the city, as young Austin's birthday party, you can see there. We also will be receiving in the near future a new armored vehicle for the West County SWAT team, as well as an upgrade inside property and evidence. So what does organizational success look like in the police department? As you can see, the SRO program has been re-implemented, which was written about in the magazine here, as well as the Detective Smith, who was able to make a quality arrest in relations to an elderly scam, which was covered on one of the local news stations, just highlighting the successful investigations that they conducted. Now, as far as our support services division is authorized to have 1 civilian manager and 1 part-time professional staff employee and 7 volunteers in police services, also known as VIPs, and their primary responsibilities are support the department personnel with community engagement, emergency management, peer support, training, special events, and social media. Now, as far as emergency management goals in 23 and 24 was to maintain a state of readiness through the training and simulated emergencies, and to improve IT capabilities to allow for stable access to web-based platforms and real-time information, which they have done. And in 24 and 25, it's to increase the EOC position-specific training in finance, logistics, operations, and planning, to update the EOC IT capabilities to meet or exceed best practices, collaborate and train the neighboring jurisdictions for a seamless response to a critical incident likely to affect our region, to work toward establishing a West County EOC located at the Joint Forces Training Base, secure funding for that West County EOC, and conduct a full-scale EOC drill in the 4th quarter, which will be a simulated natural disaster, and identify a dedicated emergency services coordinator responsible for that West County EOC operations. Now, as far as the volunteer program's goals is to create and implement the VIPS program, which I don't know if everyone understands all the steps that were involved with that, which they have done, which is to create the policy, design the uniforms, conduct the recruitment, the selection, the onboarding, the training, and creating a workload that correlates to their training and capabilities, as well as creating a VIPS manual, which did not exist prior, so that we can ensure that the roles and responsibilities to guide this program for years to come. And in 24 and 25, acquire and deploy a dedicated VIPS vehicle and expand the capabilities of the program, create quarterly training for the program, create reciprocity with the VIPS program from neighboring jurisdictions, and expand the capabilities of that VIPS program that do not currently exist. as far as the community engagement goals, was to increase the number of community engagement opportunities and to participate in the MADS Every 15 Minutes program, which we had not done since COVID. In 24 and 25, create new community engagement opportunities, introduce the new motor, introduce the new armored personnel carrier, which the arrival date is to be determined, and create and implement a public awareness campaign for new e-bike municipal codes that will be part of our next evolution of the e-bike safety training program that we teach in the middle schools. So what does that look like? So these photographs to depict the VIPs in action there at a community event. One of the special events that you can see there from our trunk or treat. Some of the high-level training that they've been able to provide, which was covered as an active shooter drill by one of the local news networks. The handling of an emergency management incident when we had a structure fire here in the city. Community engagement, as you can see, young Austin there at his birthday party. And for the organizational success of that volunteer program, this is what it looks like when one of our VIPs is getting recognized by a state senator as the 2024 Women of Distinction Award recipients. Now, some of the challenges that we're going to face are recruitment and retention. That will always be a moving target. The evolution of the peer support and officer wellness programs, because they slightly differ from the city wellness programs. And in finding ways to leverage technology to become more efficient. Technology is always going to be part of conducting police work going forward. And so some of the goals that we want to try to achieve is to implement that West County EOC located on JFTB, transition our city of Los Alamitos Emergency Operations Center, which operates out of this city council chambers right here, over to the Recreation Building 2, expand the staffing by adding an additional peace officer position to be subsidized by asset forfeiture money, research and possibly implement an after-school youth program to be run by the police department. To complete all the station renovations, to re-implement a police reserves program to hope to even have a fraction of the success that the VIPS program has had, and create and implement a community police academy. And that is going to be it for the police department.
Before we move on for Craig's closing comments, I just wanted to say that, again, there's an awful lot that's happening in various departments within the city, but I want to hand it to the chief and to the command staff because it's not a shotgun approach, no pun intended, but it's very much a methodical, well thought out, how exactly do we get from point A to point B, how exactly do we complete these things, and what happens because of that is there's less holes once we get to the deployment of each one of these programs. And it's no small feat to be able to actually think the programs through, implement it in the time that we're implementing it, and be able to have it as successful as it is. And I think also the one thing that I think we're taking away from it as well is honest feedback. The police do something that we're trying to implement citywide, which is after we have an event, after we have a program that has been implemented, debriefing after the fact and saying, okay, what did we learn from that? How exactly can we be honest about in critiquing our programs and saying, this year it was this, next year it could be a little bit better. And so, Chief, thank you for bringing that kind of mentality to the entire city. So, thank you. With that, I think we're back to Craig.
All right, thank you, Chet. Couple of closing slides. General fund expenditure details, slide 34. Some structural budget changes that were proposed and included with this. Proposing to eliminate the internal service fund charges, as I mentioned, and replaced by direct transfers from the general fund. This is to provide true accounting of the department budget expenses and provides better transparency. The two proposed staffing changes are, one is the development services, additional code enforcement officer. This will provide 7-day full coverage of and evening operations as needed, and the recreation to reclass recreation supervisors to management analyst. This aligns with the expanded role and responsibilities of that position. Budget 24-25 and 25-26 summary. The projections for these two fiscal years reflect approximately $1 million in surplus. Other budget considerations that are included, fundings to continue for the UAL paydown. This consists of the approved $260,000 annual ADP or additional discretionary payments, plus the $50,000 monthly installments to the trust. Payoff targets to be 100% now within 11 years or earlier. In the event of a surplus following a year in accounting, 25% will be applied as additional payment towards the UAL or the trust. 24-25 summary. This budget represents the city's 5th consecutive structurally balanced budget. If adopted, it will also be the 5th straight budget to include a surplus. The projections for 24-25 and 25-26 reflect approximately $1 million in surplus. City is currently pursuing an excess of $10 million in grant funding to accomplish CIP projects, including for facilities, streets, bikes, lanes, parks, and technology upgrades. The general fund reserve has grown by 94% from $11.2 million in fiscal year 1920 to an estimated $21.7 million for fiscal year 24-25. And with that, we look forward to your questions.
And before we go down that road, I would like to say just one thing with regards to that last slide. One of the things that we have recognized, and again, this comes from being able to take a look at something after the fact and realize where was it successful and where wasn't it. One of the goals when I first arrived here was to build a general fund reserve that would allow the city to operate in terms of seeking out additional funding opportunities that were out there, be able to handle the emergencies when they came, to provide the stability that we needed if we had to augment with different programs and different staffing models, but also to provide just the flexibility for the city council to consider different policy initiatives. I'm happy to say that having reached 94% growth in that fund, it's now time to actually take a look at how those funds can be used judiciously. The Budget Standing Committee has directed us to start working on what exactly the plans for those funds may be. That will include us reaching out to some outside consultants in order to take a look at various opportunities, whether that be further contemplation of speeding up the pay down of unfunded liability, taking a look at different debts that we have on the books and what exactly the value of retiring those debts might be, trying to actually set a reasonable reserve limit that would also account for emergency rainy day funds, but would also start building, I'll call them rotating funds that we can use in order to go out and use as seed money in order to go out and capture those grant funds that are out there. And as I mentioned earlier, to also look and see if there's different places where it might be appropriate for the city council to look at P3s or public-private partnerships in order to develop different things that the city would like to see throughout the city. So again, in short, as Craig mentioned, this will be the 5th year of structural balanced budgets, all with projecting surpluses. We've done, I think, a fairly good job of meeting those projections and being able to, again, transfer that money into the reserve. And now we believe that it is time to take a look at that next step and try to see if we can be more efficient with the use of that money going forward. And with that, obviously, council, we'd love to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, before we have questions from the council, I just wanted to open it up for public comments or public hearing. If there's anybody in the public that wants to make some comments.
Thank you very much. My name is Dean Gross. I live in Old Town West, former member of the council, and I want to congratulate staff and the council. In the nearly 12 years that I was involved on the council, I don't think we ever had a budget presented in the month of May to be adopted. We wound up going with several added council meetings in June in order to get it adopted by June. So the staff needs to be congratulated for putting all of their efforts and work efforts to getting it to you by this time. I think it's remarkable, and everybody shares in that process. I have one personal thing that I'd like to ask, because it was something that occurred during my watch, if you will. Virtually everybody, from the standpoint of city manager to police department staff to many of the other staff, have changed since I was involved with the council 4 years ago. And I just want to assure, because it's been reassured to me in the past, but things have changed, people have changed, and I want to explain what the process occurred, what I was told would continue to occur, and in looking at the budget document, I can't find it. And that was back when we had a civilian administrative captain. The city was approached, or not approached, was literally told by the Orange County Communications Center that Motorola will no longer support and maintain the Motorola system that the city and county-wide agencies use. And as a result, everybody had to buy brand new equipment. And they came to the council for a budget request of $85,000. And the council agreed to take that $85,000 out of reserves in order to keep the police department up to date in terms of the communication. However, the thing I asked was, how long had the city known that this increase was coming, and had they made any arrangements to be able to afford it? And I was told no, that hadn't happened. So I agreed to vote in favor of the transfer of the $85,000 as long as the department put forth implements over the next 20 years that they did not have to come back to the city and ask for money to replace the Motorola system, if I have permission to continue just to finish up. And I was told that was going to occur. The way the budget system is set up right now, I can't find where the police department is setting aside an encumbrance for that in the future. And that's one of the things that happens with the fast changes of technology. The costs go up, the lifespan in some cases goes down based on the manufacturer that's providing the equipment. I would hate to see us be faced with perhaps, using today's dollars, $150,000 to replace the radio system and then wonder where the money's coming from. So I'm hopeful that money has been set aside, number one. Number two, I'm hopeful that not only the police department, but Public Works and others that have assets that have a life term to them are being able to recognize that when those end and you have to replace them, you still have to find the money. So kudos for the development of the $94 million in order to set things aside. That's appreciated, and I hope that there's money being set aside, Chief, so that you don't have to go back to the string and cans. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gross.
Mr. Mayor, I can address that very quickly if you'd like me to.
That's fine. Yeah.
Just because it is pertinent to the conversation or the comment that I was just making about the reserve fund. The idea going forward is to build out not just one, but an entire litany of replacement funds and to fund them appropriately so that when we get down the road and we have large scale, what I'll call improvements that are called for, i.e. a roof or the replacement of vehicles within the fleet, that it's not something that we have to dip into an operational budget in order to pay for. It's something that we have pre-planned. And this gets back to something I was saying about the chief in terms of being methodical and thinking things out. And also, I'll include Mr. Noda in this as well. The decisions that were made about the fleet in terms of which vehicles to procure, how exactly we go about procuring them, was methodical. It wasn't just well, everybody likes this brand of car, so let's go ahead and get this one. It was, this class is what we're going to use for this one. We'll have enough in order to ensure that if one goes down, we have another one that we can rotate in. The mechanics that we use, they all are familiar with servicing that type of vehicle. If we need to cannibalize a vehicle in order to drop a computer or something like that into it, all the brackets fit. We don't have to worry about going out and re-outfitting something. So in terms and directly to your statement about communication, we are working directly with Westcom in order to ensure that by the time we get ready to what I'll call retire out our current system, that we've already put away enough money in order to fund the next one without making it an operational expense. It'll just be another CIP project for us. So, sir.
Questions from the council?
I had one. The ADU software system that you're looking for, last time I checked, OCOG was actually working on something that would be available to the cities for use, and I believe it's built into the membership fee that we already pay. I have a meeting there sometime this month, because it may have been impacted by the REAP 2 funding being recalled. But hopefully, it has enough functionality. I don't know if they're going to be giving us the bits and pieces, so if it's something that we can additionally build on or whatever that is, but.
I believe in, again, Mr. Nether, correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea with this is to build something that, not to build something new, but to take an existing system that someone else has already built and then put it into, I guess, our framework. And so the REAP funding would definitely help with that, but as you said, kind of was pulled back. That being said, the idea here, just in general, as you know, is to, can we make everything a little bit simpler, but also have it already adhere to our local standards and our local plans, so it'll be very easy for the residents to get it approved. So yes, we will be, I think, pushing on SCAG and OCOG for where exactly we can go in order to find money to do that, so that we do not have to incur that cost ourselves.
Well, they had already built the system. It's just, it needs to be completed.
Right.
And it already had all of our information that could be uploaded, and then we could deal with its functionality for us specifically, but I'm not sure how far along it got, and I just know that the plug is being messed with a little bit.
Yes, well, there's, I think, I'll say the work that needs to be done is not the 75 or the 80% to build the platform. It's really about the end user and deployment at this point, and that's the piece that I think we would have to tweak anyway. Okay. So I think we're, I'll call it 85% there, but there will be some effort in order to get us across that finish line.
Any other questions?
No, but I did want to say, very impressive. Since last year, the improvements have been significant, and I am thrilled by just everything that's been presented from each of the departments. I've sat down with Mr. Kohler, and our communication has been extremely effective, and it's been just amazing and incredible. So I wanted to thank you for taking the time to speak with me and in the last couple weeks and go over everything. I've taken a tour with Ron, which is why I was already aware of the discussion regarding with concern over here at Oak Middle School. And I see Chelsea quite frequently. I'll see her tomorrow at the Rotary meeting. And of course, I adore Emlyn. I've known her for several years now. So I just want to say thank you, and to the police chief and to Wendy, thank you so much. Very impressive and very comprehensive, very detailed. And I just want to say I really appreciated it. And I am all about transparency, and I'm glad that you are actually welcoming that door and presenting everything to not only the city council, but to the community. So, thanks.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have a couple comments. Thank you to the staff for your presentations. Excellent presentation. This right here, very, very helpful. Everything looks good. I think we're all on the same page this coming year, so it's going to be very exciting to see this executed. I'm particularly excited to get off paper payroll and get on electronic payroll. I'm a big fan of tech, so I think that'll make Mr. Kohler's life that much easier and save him some time. With that, I have a few minor questions, more maybe forecasting for Mr. Kohler. I'm concerned about our sales tax revenue in so much that there's been some conversation in Rossmore with the RCSD that they're looking into changing their zip code so that they don't share 90720, which we would then not receive their sales taxes. Their population is about equal to ours. I had asked about this. I know that we don't have the exact numbers as far as what percentage of our sales tax revenue is coming from Rossmore residents versus Los Al residents. But we have it's about 11 million in sales taxes. Are we taking that into consideration at all, that if something should come up in 24, in 25, that they do indeed change their zip code and we don't benefit from their sales taxes? What we'll do, it'll be a loss of around 6 million, 5 to 6 million, if we just rough estimate cut it in half. Is that something that we're taking into consideration in case we lose that?
You want me to take that?
I'm gonna just throw some initial comments out, and then I'll ask Craig to actually go into detail if need be. That is a concern, obviously. Anytime that we have a revenue source that might be over inflated due to other jurisdictions paying into it, that I think is obviously something that we need to be concerned about. That being said, we have gone to HDL, who does the sales tax projections for ourselves and then for most cities throughout the state. And while they can't give us an exact number because we're not allowed to know what sales tax is generated by Rossmore, because you have to be on a list that's adopted by the city council that it will show you sales tax data from certain business types within a jurisdiction. We don't have any of that, but they did allude to the idea that it would probably be someplace between 75 and 100,000 in the event that we were to, if they are over-reporting sales tax that is being captured over in Rossmore. That being said, we don't see it as a large issue. That is well within the margin of error that we established for ourselves when doing the budget. So we don't see it as being a giant swing. Now, that all being said, in the event that they do get a sales tax number, or I'm sorry, not a sales tax number, but a separate zip code, we obviously will be right back at trying to analyze what exactly the amount of money that we potentially may or may not lose coming out of that jurisdiction. I will say this too. Cities with unincorporated areas go through this practice very commonly. I came from a jurisdiction that had 4 different little islands of unincorporated areas in them, and there was a constant ebb and flow between, well, what was generated here and what was generated there. Each year there is a true-up that HDL and the state does in order to ensure that sales tax is going to the correct place. And so even today, there's a true-up happening between sales tax that is coming to the city and sales tax that ultimately will be going to the county. So the county has better data on this than we will. But at the same time, the fact that HDL was able to give us those numbers, I think that gives us a fair amount of confidence that in the event that they were to get a new number, that we would have minimize the impact actually on us.
And for great, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that we're looking at that. One of the things I also had questions on was regarding and this might be for the next agenda item, I apologize if it is, or let me know, regarding our credit card processing fees. How are we accounting for that?
Well, currently the city absorbs those, but that's going to be something that we're going to include with the cost recovery study and take that in consideration to pass that on to the payments when the city receives the credit cards.
Okay.
And that is the very definition of a policy decision for the city council as to whether or not the city will continue to absorb those charges, or if we want to do a true accounting and have them out there for everyone to see.
I think if I recall last year, it was in the ballpark of $40,000 a year, something like that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Regarding the Bearcat, when can we expect to see that reimbursement?
We already received it.
Oh, we did?
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. And asset forfeiture, what types of assets are we typically ending up with?
So asset forfeiture, when I reference that, that is going to be us if we get approved for the 26th officer and we assign that officer to a task force. then every case or investigation that that officer is tasked with that recoups money, we would get a percentage of that recovery that would come into an asset forfeiture fund for the city.
Is that percentage, who are you negotiating with?
So that is a set standard rate by the feds. That's already been figured out of what percentage they keep, and then the rest is divvied up in between the other agencies that are assigned to the task force. The more people assigned to the task force, the smaller percentage you're going to get. The smaller people, or the fewer people assigned, then the larger portion you would get.
Makes sense. All right, thank you.
Just one clarification regarding the sales tax. So the sales tax is based on the ship-to address or the pickup address. So with the Rossmore stuff, if they go into Vaughn's, they're still paying LaSalle sales tax. This is only for like Amazon deliveries that are shipped to in Rossmore, so that's why the number is so low. It's not half of our sales tax because of population, it's where the sale took place.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I'd like to ask for a motion to move the staff recommendations.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then the staff recommendations move forward. Item B, master fee schedule update, fiscal year 2024 through 2025. If I can get a staff report, please make it quick.
With that, I'm going to turn it over to Craig.
All right, thank you. The City Council previously adopted a policy requiring annual review and update of the master fee schedule to commensurate with changes in CPI. The previous study was done by NBS that incorporated that feature into it. A cost recovery study is underway and being conducted and will be completed at a later date. At this time, we're recommending a 4% increase in applicable fees in accordance with the annual review provisions per attachment 1, and that's based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index for the Los Angeles area, inclusive of Orange County, for the period of April 23 through March 24.
Okay. Were you going to say anything, or you're?
I'm afraid to say anything. So
okay. With that, I'll open it up for any public comments, if any. None? Any questions from council?
I have one item one line item that catches my attention. There's a U.S. veteran notary fee. It's going from 0 to 0. I'm not necessarily concerned with the cost of this at all, since it's free, but I was wondering, what is this, and are we promoting this to the men and women at the base or veterans around town? I think it's a fantastic service.
So notary fees are set by the state, so we just follow their guidelines. The city clerk's office, there is one notary within the office. We don't necessarily advertise that service because we weren't fully staffed, but it's something that we can look into doing in this upcoming year.
Okay. Would it be, I usually attend the monthly RMAC meetings, and they have, give everyone kind of an opportunity to mention something that's going on. Would it be safe, now that we're fully staffed, to mention that we do provide this service?
It'd be, let me get back to you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I will move the item.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The recommendations will move forward. Okay, finally, we have council announcements. At this time, council members may also report on items not specifically described on the agenda that are of the interest of the community, provided no action or discussion is taken, except to provide staff direction to report back or to place the item on future agenda. I'm going to change directions here. I'm going to start with my left. Councilmember Doby, you go first.
All right. Microphone. Okay, I attended a couple of ACCOC executive committee meetings, and this is significant because I think it was last week on Wednesday. I was sworn in as a second VP for their executive board. Yay me. This is significant because it gives our small city a voice at a countywide level. That's why it's a big deal. I took a tour of the OC Vibe. It's out in, what's that, Anaheim? I think it's Anaheim. And just got some really great ideas on all of the different economic development that they've got brewing and trying to figure out how to take it and place it somewhere in my sphere. I went to my OCOG board meeting. I got to see Miss Emmeline Noda acknowledged and honored a couple different times for her spectacular contributions to the city of Los Alamitos and our staff. So thank you again. And then I went to, what do you call it? Art with the Heart Gala for Casa Youth Shelter. It's one of their big fundraisers. It was actually beautifully done. They kind of changed up the way that they fundraise, and they made a ton of money. So much money that I was looking at Emmeline like, how do we find out who those people are with all that money? Because they just raised a whole lot of money. But yeah, that's what I've got going. I'm done.
Okay, Councilmember Hibbert.
Thank you. I spent the last month walking around Apartment Row, talking with residents, just asking if there's anything I could do for them or help them with, if they have any concerns or compliments. I attended the following events: the Chamber of Commerce meeting at Madera's Steakhouse with Coach Fenton, the RMAC meeting on the base, We Cares fundraiser at the Navy Golf Course, the National Day of Prayer event at Cottonwood Church, and I just returned yesterday from the ACCOC's 3-day intensive inspection tour of the Colorado River Aqueduct. And with that, I wanted to just take a moment to remember my next door neighbor, Mr. Maurice Kalfis. He passed last weekend, and he is a World War II veteran, and I thought with Memorial Day just around the corner, just read a little bit about his life right here. Mr. Kalfis was born on August 19th, 1925 in the Bronx, New York. By the age of 13, he joined the Sea Scouts, and his troop was called Pearl Harbor. A few years later, everyone knew of Pearl Harbor due to the surprise attack on Hawaii in 1941 that pulled America into World War II. Murray eventually convinced his father, a World War I combat veteran, to leave high school and join the Navy at the age of 17. By his 21st birthday, the war ended in victory, and Murray returned home as a decorated combat veteran who landed on the beaches of Iwo Jima, Okinawa, Saipan, and the Tinian Islands. At the age of 25, he met the love of his life, Diane, in a chance meeting on a New York subway. In 1962, they bought their forever home in Los Alamitos, California. There, they raised their 3 children along with their dog Tiger and a duck named Beverly. Murray loved to talk and give advice, and he had a contagious laugh. He was steadfast and to the point. Just shy of 99 years old, he had an amazing life and has left an everlasting mark on those who knew him. We will always carry your memory in our hearts. So that was my next door neighbor, Mr. Kalfis. And with the 80th anniversary of D-Day coming up, I thought it'd be only appropriate to read General Dwight D. Eisenhower's, what he said to those men before they went into battle. He said, "Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hope and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of the Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and the security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumph in 1940 and 1941. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man. Our offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together in victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than victory. Good luck, and let us beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking. Eisenhower's speech is important because it's a piece of American history. It's also very personal to me because on June 6, 1944, Harold Hibbard, my great-uncle, made the ultimate sacrifice on the beaches of Normandy, France. I grew up listening to my grandfather and great-uncles tell the stories about their time in the war. My family is a Gold Star family, and we understand our freedom here in America has come at a great cost. Memorial Day is next week on May 27th. It's a special day where we honor our veterans and remember their service to our great nation. To all the men and women currently serving on the base at the Joint Forces Training Base here in town, thank you. To all of our active military and veterans, thank you. And to all of the families who have lost a loved one while they served our country, thank you. I appreciate your service and I honor you.
Okay, Councilmember Murphy.
Well, good evening. So I attended the We Care from the Heart fundraiser, and it was just inspiring to see so many families and individuals coming together to fundraise for this nonprofit organization in Los Alamitos. I attended the Chamber of Commerce event featuring Los Al High School football legend Coach Fenton. That was also very inspiring. And it was a great opportunity for networking. I also attended the senior prom at the American Legion Post 716. The city staff, they're just truly phenomenal. They were dedicated and they turned the hall into a carnival, just full of all of my amazing sweets that I love, from cotton candy to cupcakes to popcorn. And there was a cartoonist who, well, he did a pretty good job, you know. So yeah, I was just thinking, yeah, my lips, but then I guess my lips are kind of big too, so makes sense. But he was really great, and the seniors were just in awe of all that the staff did there at the senior prom. I also listened to a tale of a rekindled romance spanning over 50 years from Paul and Jeannie Wayne. They attended prom together in high school, and then Gene moved away and was in California, and 50 years later he went and found her again, and they just were married for 4 weeks when we attended the senior prom, so that was really touching. I was also able to see a picture of Janet and Dan at their high school senior prom, which was really, really incredible to see that, you know, that love really does last. So I appreciate sharing that. I attended this year's ACCOC Leadership Summit when we looked at change makers and visionary leaders such as Emlyn Noda, who won an award in her category. She's our diamond of Los Alamitos, and I can't say how much I appreciate you, and I value all your opinions and also your suggestions and advice. I also attended the Casa Youth Shelter's Art with Heart, and at the event, we honored the one and only legacy honoree, Kenny Brandyberry. And we all know who Kenny is. He was so gracious in giving us a large sum of money, about $15,000, so that we can contribute that to our dog, Elvis. I also want to say that there are instances when I make a vote, and I haven't taken the opportunity to really sometimes express why I've come to that decision for a vote. I am privileged to serve on this council as a member of 5, but I want to assure you that my opinions, my beliefs, and actions are informed by my own personal convictions and insights. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here on the dais, and just to let you know that it took speaking with people that I value their opinions to know that it sometimes is necessary, especially when you're making a vote, to explain how you came to that vote, because some people may misconstrue it due to perception. And so I just want to say that going forward, I will always express why I came to vote, so that people are understanding of my own views and beliefs and do not feel that they're being impacted or influenced by anyone else. So I just want to say thank you for the people who I spoke with who let me know that that's how necessary that is and how perception can be misconstrued. That is it. Just want to say thank you again.
Mayor Pro Tem Hasselbrink.
Yeah. It's been a busy month. First, I want to shout out to our newest police recruit that walks on 4 legs. Last Friday, there was an incident that started in Steel Beach at Coles and ended up at Oroville Lewis Park. And our cheapest paid police officer was able to find the bad guy and find the key to the stolen car, all in a day's work. So hopefully he got lots of belly rubs and snacks for that. And it's just, we always knew that was going to be a great addition, but then to see him in action only a few months into his first day of patrol is outstanding. I did attend the ACCOC Awards and dinner. Congratulations to Councilmember Doby for second VP, and also congratulations to Emmeline Noda for being the queen of everything. She had some tough competition in her category, and it was quite nice. She wanted all of us to go up there, and we just made her go by herself. So that was good. I did attend the We Care event. They have a new director now, and I do remember this time last year at the We Care event, Rob Lowenberg was actually in the hospital on his deathbed. So they've turned it around in a year. They have a new ED who was over at the Boys and Girls Club, and she's just added a level of energy to it that I think We Care is really going to thrive. It's like our city. It's a small but mighty nonprofit, and it really does do very, very good work to help people fill in the gap when finances are low. I was in Sacramento this last week with the Queen of Intergovernment Affairs. We had some very, very good meetings. We met with Assemblyman Pilar Chavo and also Assemblymember Lori Davies. They are the chair and the vice chair on the Committee on Military and Veterans Affairs. We went for the sole purpose for begging for money and begging for support. Very well received. I've known Lori Davies before she was Assembly. She was on the Laguna Niguel City Council, and she also served on OCFA, so we've had a long-standing relationship. We shared with her what we want to do as far as the Emergency Operations Center over at the base, and because of their positions on the Military and Veterans Affairs, they are extremely supportive with letters of support. I've also asked them to go find money, turn over some rocks, and find some money for the base. We also met with Lieutenant Colonel Fox was up there with us, so he was very, very instrumental in taking us around and opening the doors and starting the conversations. I met the new Adjunct General, General Beavers. I had worked with General Baldwin forever, met with General Beavers, and he is just as excited about everything we want to do at the base as we are, and you don't find that at a level that high. They have one mission, and that's to run the Cal Guard and to report to the governor. So the fact that they were excited about this, he thanked me profusely. He said he has never seen a city come up to an event like this and go around to the electeds and ask for money for the base, not for the city, but for the base. Word got out real quick on that. I also met with Major General Eldon Ria. He is the Senior Advisor for Strategic Engineering at the Undersecretary of the Army, just another contact with a lot of stars on his shoulders. So he's also looking for us. Met Colonel Darren Bender. He's Director of External Affairs for CalGuard. He has heard of our operations center that we want to promote, and he's all for it. And then I also met with Colonel McPeel. He is with the DoD, and he is in charge of FEMA Region Area 9, which is our region. That's California, Nevada, and Arizona. we talked to him about the FEMA grant that's going to be opening up in 2026. But in the meantime, he was so excited about the things we want to do with the base, not to the base, that he is looking for other money for us in the interim. So it was extremely successful, extremely exhausting, but it was well worth the time going up there. And I would also like to thank Casa Youth Shelter made a special thank you to City Manager Chet Simmons and Director Ron Noda for their generous donation at the Casa Youth Center event. Those newbies left their bid paddles on the table unsupervised, and they got paid for it. So with that, it was a busy, oh, and I'm sorry, and then one more thing, I know the city manager had mentioned it, I've been working with Congressman Michelle Steele on OCFA for a redo for Station Number 2. My mother and Station Number 2 have one thing in common. They will both be 80 this year. So we did some upgrades, but they were minimal. The joke of the shower curtains, that is not a joke. I am planning on donating new shower curtains with fire engines all over them until we can get the station redone. I talked to Congressman Steele on Saturday, and the $1 million grant made it through committee, and now it's in appropriations, which she just happens to sit on the appropriations. So that should pass through, and we should see that in the 25-26 budget. So that's free money, $1 million for that little station. It's gonna be some really nice shower curtains. So looking forward to that, and just making sure we take care of our first responders the best we can. And that's it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I had some remarks that I prepared, and I too also attended numerous events, including an out-of-town conference. But given the length of this meeting and the look on everybody's faces, I'm going to refrain from my remarks. But I do want to take this time just to thank the staff. I know that you guys are overworked. You guys are given assignments and responsibilities that go well beyond your titles, but you always pull through. You give up your nights and your weekends sometimes, and your work, it does not go unnoticed. We thank you for that, or I thank you for that personally, and thank you for the presentations tonight. And until next time, this meeting will adjourn at 9:16, I'm told, until the regular meeting that is June
24th at 6 p.m.
at 6 p.m.